Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto was deceived becomes White Dragon God. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Hector Flores and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. I am writing this story just for the fun of it. There are many things that a young child goes through life, but being born with no one to guide him has to be one of the toughest one, or at least that is what I used to think. Turns out that I had no clue what was tough, but then again, what can you expect from me? I had a tough time trying to find clothes to wear or something to eat. If someone tells me again that orphanages exist to make sure kids like me find a happy home, and they are there to make sure while we wait to be adopted, we are supposed to be under the supervision of caring people, I am liable to tell them they are full of shit, and they need to get their head out of their ass because that is not healthy to have their heads up there. My days at the orphanage can be pretty much described as hell. I never got to wear decent clothes, rags I got from the dumpsters, never got to eat any good food, again food I found in the dumpsters, and you can imagine where I was told to sleep? That is right by the dumpsters where I found the rags I got to wear and found my food in. I am not kidding, for 5 long years that is how I lived. Honestly, the person in charge of the orphanage, if anything, was more disappointed how I grew up than even me. I mean, how many times did she have to scream that she actually expected me to die? Now you probably are wondering, what is my name? Well, that depends on who you ask. The people at the orphanage called me a freak, and the people in the village where the orphanage was called me either demon or hellspawn, and this was from people that went to the orphanage to adopt kids. At age 8, the people in the orphanage pretty much either figured that I was not going to die under their watch, no matter how much glass they tried to feed me, and so they decided to summarily kick me out. I think the words they use is that I was a waste of space, since not even a nutcase would ever adopt something like me. Some would say that it was heartless of them to throw me out on my own, but then again, it was really not any different than when I lived there. If anything, I was actually quite happy to leave that place. I found a nice, almost livable place by the dumpster of a local restaurant. I actually managed to find a rather horrible jumpsuit. The blasted thing had to be the single ugliest thing I ever wore, and this is coming from a guy that grew up wearing rags. I also learned exactly why the village and the orphanage hated my guts. It was my 8th birthday present from the villagers. Isn't it nice of them to finally tell me why they hated my guts? I was chased across the entire village, and finally, when I was against the wall, they ganged up on me and began beating me with brooms, large pieces of wood, anything they could get their hands on. Finally, I looked at them as they got tired. Why do you hate me? What did I do to you? I haven't done anything wrong, so why do you hate me? I couldn't help asking that as the tears on my face ran down my face and got mixed with the blood from my wounds. You honestly don't know, or are you stupid enough not to remember? I will tell you why we want you dead, and what you did to us. You are the reincarnation of the damned fox demon that killed our loved ones and friends, you stupid demon brat. You attacked our homes and burned down a large portion of our village. That is why you deserve this. Why won't you just die? That is when I felt a strong pain in the middle of my gut. I looked down and saw that someone had gotten his hand on a pitchfork, and he actually stabbed me with it. It hurt so bad, much worse than what I felt as I was being beaten before. Everything went dark and I was in a musky cave. The cave was dark and there was no light. As I kept searching the cave, I kept walking down the cave until I got to the largest part of the cave. In the middle of the cave I saw a large lake. I thought that might as well try and clean myself off. I walked over to the lake, and as I looked at my reflection I was surprised. I didn't look at all human. I had this weird body. My body looked like a large winged lizard, and my body was in 2 different colors, and thank God it was not orange. It was a splash of red and while, and the 2 colors swirled in where my chest should be. I looked, and feeling a bit thirsty I bent down and began to drink the water. As I got my fill I saw a much larger dragon looking at me, and he was smiling at me. So I finally have found you, Naruto, or I guess the humans call you Naruto. It took a human nearly killing you for your mind to finally connect to mine. That human dared to call you a demon fox. What a fool he is. I am the Red Dragon Emperor. My name is Drake, but to you, I am something more than a dragon. I rather you call me father, for you see, my young dragon, you are my long-lost son. I looked at his green eyes and I saw that my eyes were blue. Guess mom had blue eyes. So you are my father? Don't mean to sound disrespectful, but where have you been, dad? Where is mom? Did you 2 abandon me? Didn't you love me or want me at all? He looked at me and I felt like he suddenly jumped out of the lake and was near me. He put his massive arms around me and pulled me closer to him and hugged me. My child, you were stolen by some unknown power. Your mother and I have been searching for you for centuries. We would never abandon you, we love you. Your mother might not have found you like I did, but never again will we be apart. I couldn't stop myself from crying, and I couldn't stop crying since I didn't know why I was crying. The tears just kept coming. I know these humans treated you badly, son, don't worry. Once you wake up you will still look like one of them, but never forget my son. You are not a human, you are a dragon. The only son that I and Sylvana the White Dragon Empress ever had. Let the filthy humans try and kill you, our existence is much greater than they ever could be. You have awakened your true self, and as such you have the chance of obtaining power beyond their wildest wishes. I shall show you how to use your real abilities in your dreams. If you ever wish to speak with me, just find a clear pool of water, and call out to me. I looked at him and hugged him too. I was not abandoned, I was not thrown away, my parents did love me. This made me feel so happy. I could not remember ever feeling this happy in my entire life. I will make you proud, father. I will find a way to learn to fight and be strong. I will get these humans to respect me. I will show them I am better than they are. Dad began to laugh and pat me on my back as he did. Now that is what I would expect from my son. Don't you worry, son, I will be here with you. Let's show these bald monkeys that we dragons are better than they are. As I closed my eyes, I felt like I was in a room that could be described as a room that lacked color. I mean the walls, the ceiling, and even the bed was all white. I have never been to this place before, I mean it. I never saw a room with so much white in my entire life. Awake, are we? I am sorry that happened to you, Naruto. I really should have sent my Anbu to keep an eye on you. You somehow managed to survive something that would kill any other kid. You don't have to worry, the people who tried to kill you will not hurt you again. I looked at him, and I got to admit I saw him talking to the director of the orphanage a couple of times. I think this man actually donated to the orphanage I grew up in. Sorry, sir, but I think you actually donate to the orphanage I grew up in, but I don't know who you are. You know my name, but I don't know you. The old man began to laugh, and he took off this rather odd-looking large hat off his head. I suppose that will not do. I am the leader of the village you were born in and live in. This place is called Konoha, and I am the Hokage. My name is Hiruzen Sarutobi. I know your name because it was written on the blanket that we found you in. He looked at me as he walked over to the bed I was on and sat near me. Tell you the truth, it was a rather odd blanket, had more scales than cloth. What do you want to do, Naruto? Do you know what our village is known for? I looked at him, and I looked at myself. I was dressed in a rather flimsy-looking cloth. The darn thing didn't even cover my rear the way the piece of cloth felt. I don't know much about anything. I only learned to talk hearing people talk, and I know how to read because of an old book I found. He looked at me and began to nod his head as he heard me say that, Naruto, this village is known for training warriors, strong men who fight and defend our people. We call these men ninjas. As the Hokage, I am the leader of the ninja of this village. Don't you want to be able to defend yourself, Naruto? Fight for something bigger than yourself? To defend others so they don't suffer the way you have suffered? I still couldn't understand why he needed to ask me that. You see, Naruto, the ninja of this village, we believe in a philosophy which guides our lives. We call it the will of fire. Everyone in the village is part of a large family, Naruto. We are all flames that are part of a bigger fire. If we help each other and stand with each other no matter the obstacle, no matter how fierce the wind is or how much it rains, our flames will not die. For you see, Naruto, together we are a fire that can stand up to anything, but separate we would not survive. This is the will of fire, Naruto. That we should live and work to help each other, and thus we become strong. I couldn't believe he had the gall to say something like that to me, especially after I went through. I could tell him he was full of shit. I could scream at him that his entire philosophy was nonsense, since the villagers were more than happy to try and kill me. I, however, had to agree with him on one thing. It was a nice sentiment. The other thing I could agree with him is that I needed to become stronger. I needed to earn their respect, and make them see I was not the weakling they thought I was. My dragon pride demanded it. I looked at him and smiled. I guess I would be able to defend others if I became stronger, and people would not do something like this again if I was one of these defenders you told me about. What did you call them, ninjas? Do you think I could be a ninja, old man? He laughed, and he looked at me with a smile on his face. Why, yes, Naruto, I think you could be a fine ninja if you work hard at it. I know. Why don't you join the Ninja Academy? I will give you a monthly allowance, a small apartment for you to live in, and you can use the books in my office to learn. Now come on, get up, we need to get you to eat something. Once we get you to eat something, we will get you some clothes and some things you will need. Just remember this, Naruto. As the leader of this village, the ninja protect the people, and so do I. So if anyone bullies you, you come right to my office and tell me all about it. Can you promise me that, Naruto? I could tell him that he pretty much failed to do that most of my life. But then again, I don't think Dad would be happy if I was that petty. I had to be bigger than that. After all, I am the son of the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Empress. Sure thing, old man, but what exactly am I going to be eating? You mean I have to go dig in a dumpster wearing this thing? He laughed again as he walked near me and helped me get off the table and stand on the ground near him. No, Naruto, you will not have to do that ever again. Tell me, Naruto, have you ever had a food called ramen before? I began to shake my head and he began to laugh again. In that case, let's get you dressed. I can tell you are going to love this food as much as I do. We walked out of the room and I found my orange jumpsuit on a table nearby. I quickly put it on. I hated the color, but then again it was the only piece of clothing I owned, even if it did have 3 puncture holes in the front and back of it. As we walked out of the hospital, that is what the old man said the place was called, we walked down the streets, and as I walked I began to realize something very funny. They believe in something called the will of fire. Kind of ironic that they hate me. They believe in the will of fire, and they hate the very being that actually can breathe the very fire they hold so dear. I'd better tell this to Dad once I see him in my dreams. I think he will find this as funny as I do. Chapter 2. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD, this is a fanfiction only. I guess going to a ninja school dressed in orange would be like pretty much saying kill me, so I decided to go with black clothes with red highlights. At the time I felt it looked rather nice. The glares I am getting from everyone as I walk into the academy, well, they are typical and atypical. I guess these idiots never figured that I could also attend. I was told the number of my class and took the time to learn the layout of the academy. Turns out that I possess an energy that is simply too much for a simple clone jutsu, so I ended up having to learn one that was forbidden, the shadow clone jutsu. I honestly don't know why it is called forbidden if every jounin in the entire village can do it, and know how to do it. Thanks to the shadow clones I managed to read quite a bit, so I actually felt pretty ready for anything they would throw at me in class. As I got to my classroom I decided to knock on the door. That is when a man with a scar that was across his face and across his nose came to the door. You must be the new student the Hokage told me about. Come right in, just let me say something to my class. Don't want them to jump to the wrong conclusion now, do we? As we walked in I walked and stood right by his side as he stood behind his little podium. Class 1, have some good news. We have a new student joining us from today. I want you to be considerate of him, for he is a war orphan like I am. Come on, introduce yourself. A girl with short pink hair stood up and looked at me. We don't need to hear an introduction from this freak. We already know who he is. What we should want is this freak be executed, but since we can't have that, why don't we just kick him out of the academy? We can't have the monster that attacked our village get even stronger. I had more than enough of her monologue and decided to look at her. She immediately stopped talking. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Let's get a few things straight. I am not the reincarnation of any demon or demon fox. In fact, I smell the scent of a fox coming from one of you. Now you are free to hate me, you are free to call me names, but remember that it was your Hokage that ordered me to be here. You want me to leave, fine. I will do that, but I will tell the Hokage who it was that made it impossible for me to be here as he ordered. I might not be liked, but that is considered treason. Do you know the punishment for that is? That made the rest of the class become really quiet. I looked at my teacher and waited to be told where my seat was. He told me it was on the middle row in the seat by the window. I sat down on my seat, and that is when I got the scent of a fox, and it was coming from someone I already didn't like. It was coming from the very girl that tried to make the entire class get me to be kicked out of the ninja academy. Ironic that the girl that wanted me to be dead was the very person whom the village should be hating instead of me. As I sat down I saw a guy who looked like was born with a bored look on his face, a person who had a puppy on his head, a person who wore a hoodie and dark glasses in the classroom. I also noticed the previously mentioned pink-haired girl and a girl with short blonde hair stare at the guy sitting right next to me. I know that I really should mind my own business, but something about the way they were staring at him made me feel a lot of pity towards the guy. Since we are more than likely going to be sitting here for a long time, some introductions would not hurt. You know who I am, mind telling me who you are? The guy with the puppy began to laugh, and the bored guy just nodded his head. I am Kiba of the Inuzuka clan. The puppy is my friend and partner Akamaru. The guy who looks bored is, believe it or not, the smartest guy in the class, Shikamaru of clan Nara, and the guy who you probably think is blind is Shino of clan Aburame. The guy with the dark charcoal-colored eyes and the straight black hair is the illustrious Sasuke, last member of the Uchiha clan. I looked at him and slapped on his back, and he began to glare at me. Nice to meet you guys, let's try and get along, shall we? Don't worry, you can pretend you hate my guts when we are out in public. I wouldn't want to cause problems for your families, but in here let's be friends. Well, except Sasuke, since he is my cousin. That is the moment when Sasuke stopped glaring and had a confused look on his face. Okay, mind telling me why we are cousins? As far as I know, I had no relative here. I couldn't help but laugh. I am the last member of the Uzumaki clan, which I guess a little history is not mentioned in your family. My family is what some consider an offshoot or a branch family of the Senju clan, which was founded by the brother of the man who founded the Uchiha clan. This pretty much means that we are cousins, and since the Hyuga clan is also much like the Uzumaki clan, that means the Hyuga clan members are also our cousins. Did I get that right, teacher? The man was surprised as I turned around and looked at him. For the most part, yes. Thank you for handling that part of today's lesson, Naruto. Mind telling me, where did you learn that? You are an orphan. I doubt your father or mother left any family books for you to read. I looked at him and faked a smile. Actually, I was given access to the library by the Hokage. I decided to do some reading to come prepared for my classes. I happened to have already read all the history material about the founding to present. Sasuke looked at me and began shaking his head. So if I want to find someone to share notes with, I should ask you, Naruto? I looked at him and began shaking my head. I would not suggest it, cousin. I write in a language you might not understand, Akamaru and other animals sure, but you not so much. I wrote my name on a piece of paper and to them, it was just a badly drawn series of doodles. Little did they know I was actually using the language of my kind, which is, since it is one of the most ancient of the animals' languages, is well known by most animals. See, I rather write notes in a language I am comfortable. I will write the answers in the same language that the books use, but in my notes, like I said, I rather feel comfortable. As the class continued, I came up with the right answers every time I was asked, but somehow I got the feeling that they were not being recorded. Mizuki, the teacher's aide, was more obvious about it. I knew that from the way his aura felt he had great resentment towards me. The negative part of studying ahead in my case is that I knew what they were trying to teach. The lesson was more of a review than an actual lesson. Sasuke got the treatment I would call the royal treatment. No answer he gave was wrong, and the sheer happiness showed when Mizuki heard his answers was a little on the abnormal side. My first sparring match was against someone named Niji, and he seemed to be angry with me for some reason I had not figured out. I decided to use a basic hand-to-hand combat style. My family had their own fighting style, but I saw no need to show them my family fighting style. That is something I would reserve for enemies, for my family fighting was not as tender or forgiving as the ones my classmates learned. My family focused on the elimination of an enemy. There was no kindness or mercy in our way of fighting. To bring complete destruction and ruin to my enemy. The people in my classroom were not my enemies, and such I could not use my family's fighting style. I would send all my classmates to an early grave if I did. I did my best to show that I was able to fight, but since this was the first day of class, I held back a lot of my own strength, which honestly was a mistake on my part. Niji looked at me as if I was an insect. You are within my divination field, Naruto. It is your fate to lose to me. I hate the way some people say that something happens because it is fate. If that was true, I would have been dead a long time ago. To me, those that say something is fated to happen, they gave up and decided to either say they succeeded because fate determined they would, or they failed because it was out of their control. As I began to fight and I stopped holding back my strength, I kicked a tree, and that is the moment when Irika, the other teacher of my class, decided to stop the fight. As the other students left, he told me to stay behind. The pink-haired girl who I learned was named Sakura, and the short-haired blonde girl who I learned was named Ino teased me about me being in trouble. Naruto, if you had hit Niji with that kick, you could have hurt him very badly. Remember, Naruto, I will call a stop to a match if either of you could lose your life due to the fight. Why did you kick this tree this hard? He stepped close to the tree and touched where I kicked it. The tree began to shake and it began to crack as if it was made of porcelain. The cracks were easy for me to see and the tree fell down in pieces. I hate it when people use a crotch to say that they will win, simply because some other unknown and chaotic force determined the result of a fight. It makes me feel like that person is not even trying and that I am not worth enough for him to put an actual effort. It's insulting, so I decided to show him how wrong he was. Irika smiled and began to nod his head. This is probably what his cousin feels too. Hinata, his cousin, is a student in our class. I understand what you mean, Naruto, but remember that your fellow students are also your fellow citizens of our village. Remember that we are supposed to help each other. Only then can we grow strong. Remember the will of fire. I decided to go home and decided to take a couple of books with me. For some odd reason, Hiruzen didn't say anything to me as I got the books and left. Something didn't feel right. It was almost as if he saw my fight with Niji, and he was trying to show me he was not pleased with what I did. I didn't care either way. He certainly didn't care when the orphanage or the people of the village made my life miserable. He can keep his disappointment because I can match it and surpass it with my own. As I slept, I was back in the place where I met my father, and I was back in my dragon form. I walked towards the crystal clear lake and looked as my father's face appeared on the surface. Son, don't tell me you are going to forgive these humans after all they have done? You were an awful nicer than these creatures deserved. Tell me, Naruto, why did you do that? Why were you nicer than they ever were with you? I looked at my father and began shaking my head. Those acts are the deeds of other people in the village, not the humans I study with. I will use that academy to grow strong. I will, however, not do the same mistakes these humans seem to always do. I shall give them a chance to prove to me they are better than the rest of the village. Father looked at me and began laughing. And if they prove to be as foul and dishonorable like those that made you suffer? I looked at him, and I touched my claw to the back of my head, and I rubbed the back of my neck. If they are as bad as the rest of the humans, I will pretend not to notice. I will grow stronger than any of them, and when they need for me to save them, I shall treat them with the same amount of mercy they showed me. Father seemed to like that answer, as I would expect from my son. Good. I was worried that the delusional speech of that old human might convince you to let yourself be used by them. Now come, son, We have a lot of things for you to learn, and time is not a luxury we can afford while living in enemy territory. I looked at him and began to nod my head as I smiled. The first thing you need to learn is control. Your power is much stronger than the measly energy they use. They are humans while you are a dragon. Even among dragons, we stand above them, for we are divine dragons. First, you need to learn to concentrate and feel your power, control it and have a precise feel of your power. It should be second nature, as easy as breathing. Like I said, we don't have much time, so make 20 of those things the human book said. What did they call them? Shadow clones. In a big cloud of smoke, 20 copies of myself appeared. Father seemed to be happy that I didn't wait to hear him say when to start. Good, now all of you follow my instructions to the letter. I will not accept anything else other than excellence. As the only son of 2 divine dragons, no one would expect less. I knew Dad would teach me in my sleep, and I know that he did it for my benefit, but that didn't mean that the training was not frustrating, painful, and demanding. Hell, I had more trouble keeping up with his demands than I did learning from Irika and Mizuki combined. I had no idea that my dad was such a slave driver. As the training was over, I fell down exhausted, and for some strange reason, I didn't have a dream. I only saw a deep darkness, like I was looking at the night sky but without any stars visible. I got up the next morning feeling sore. I got up from my bed and went to take a shower. I swear my bruises has bruises. As I got dressed and ate breakfast, I began to realize something. Well, I guess compared to how Dad was training me, learning to be a ninja is not going to be hard at all. I wonder if this is what my life will be like from now on. 231. Chapter 3. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD, this is a fanfiction only. Training both when I am awake and in my dreams was making my life difficult, to say the least. I felt the strain all day and still managed to get through all my class, but still, I didn't expect them to give me an exam so soon. I did my very best to answer the questions, but somehow this exam I got the feeling that it was not the same one my classmates got. Some of the questions I was reading came from stuff that was not even assigned reading. Had I not been able to use the shadow clone jutsu, I would never have gotten to even read the books that covered the material. I finished my exam and I knew I answered the questions correctly. I handed it in. Mizuki was smiling for some odd reason. I went back to my seat and began to check in my mind my answers. As the last person handed in the last exam, I finished and realized that yes, I did answer every single question correctly. Our class was dismissed for lunch and I did what I did last time. I jumped up and caught the small bag my shadow clone threw at me. I left 2 shadow clones, one to gather ingredients and the other to cook and deliver my lunch. I had found the day before that the only place for me to eat lunch in peace was on the rooftop of the academy. It was a rather easy matter to use some of my energy on my feet and walk up the wall. Nothing compared to the things my father made me do last night. As I sat down and began to eat my boxed lunch, I heard someone. I turned around and wouldn't you know it, it was my cousin Sasuke. Fancy meeting you, cousin. Came here to eat your lunch? Sasuke was catching his breath, almost like he ran up to where I was. That and getting away from my stalkers. Honestly, Naruto, how did you get up here? I am an Uchiha elite, but I didn't think there was anyone else that knew about chakra control exercises. I continued eating my food and looked at him. I read, it's in the academy library, available to all students. Now if you will excuse me, I need to finish my lunch. I just know they are going to tell us the results of our exams during physical skills. Sasuke sat down right in front of me and began glaring at me. And how would you know they planned to tell us how we did on that surprise exam during then? I didn't bother to look at him and tried to finish my meal. I simply asked him to try and remember who it was that teaches physical skills for our class. That is when he became rather quiet. I guess he finally figured out that the person was the same person who gave us our surprise exam. So Naruto, what did you answer the math question on the exam? I think it was question number 7. Thank goodness I finished eating when he asked that. I would have choked otherwise. Damn it, I knew that I got a different exam. I guess it goes to show that I shouldn't trust these humans after all. Here I tried to give them a chance and Mizuki pulls something like this. I pretended to scratch the back of my head and pretend to appear like I was thinking about it really hard. The shadow clone that delivered my lunch just happened to see the exam Sasuke was talking about on the top of our teacher's desk. As the clone ran out of energy, I got the memory. Oh, you mean the question with the trajectory? 25 meters per second. What did you answer, Sasuke? He looked like I had taken a big weight off his shoulders. I mean, really, his posture got relaxed, and he began to breathe easier. The answer is incorrect, Naruto. I guess I don't have to worry about you getting the top grade in our class. Since you read so much, I was afraid that I might have some competition for the top grade position in our class. I put the box into my side pouch and smiled at him. I wouldn't worry too much about it, cousin. I get the feeling I will not be much competition in that regard. Now how about we talk about your stalker problem? I have an idea that might help you out. He looked at me with a smile. What do you suggest? Remember, we aren't supposed to know that much about jutsu theory yet. I looked at him and couldn't help but laugh. Which is why it will work, they will never expect it from anyone in our class. You change to look like me, and I change to look like you. I take off one way and you take off another. When we are far away enough from each other we hide. We change back to normal and they will not even expect it. He began to nod his head and laughed. Even if they managed to follow us, they would be following you instead of me. I bet that would be quite the shock. So you know who my stalkers, don't you? I got up from the roof and looked at him with a smile. Why, it's your unofficial fan club, Ino and Sakura. Who else? I imagine they are trying to learn as much as they can about you to be able to ask you out on a date. He looked up at the sky and began shaking his head. I do need to find myself a wife or several. The council no doubt will try to put me under the CRA, and have my clan increase in number as soon as possible. I looked at him and began shaking my head. First, you need to worry about graduating, we still have 5 more years to go. Secondly, they would not put you under the Clan Restoration Act until you are considered to be old enough. Like I said, we got 5 years, so you got plenty of time to find someone or several people to be the mothers of your children. I walked down the wall and he used a tree to walk down from the rooftop. I quickly jumped off the wall and began to walk towards our class. Naruto, don't you need a wife or several to rebuild your clan? I just kept walking and felt the question Sasuke asked me was silly, right down ridiculous, to tell you the truth. Every woman I saw hated my guts simply for being able to breathe. The very notion that one of these women would one day be the mother of my kids. Well, let's just say it really took a lot of effort on my part to keep myself from throwing up my lunch. The very idea of it made me feel sick, like I ate the single most vile thing in creation. It took a great deal of discipline and willpower to keep myself from hurling. I walked towards the practice field and sure enough, there was Sasuke's stalkers, the teacher who hates my guts enough to throw his ethics down the nearest sewer, and a classroom with a handful of people I actually can hold a conversation with. This is my fate, as Niji would say. Well, to hell with it. I would fake that nothing is wrong, and the idiots of this village would never be able to tell. I would use anything and everything to grow in power, and once I was as strong as I could get using gathered knowledge, then I will show these idiots that they can shout, scream and hate me all they want, but in the end I will not need any of them, but they will know they need me more than I ever did them. My dragon pride might be hidden, but it exists, and I will have these hairless monkeys know the truth. They have only lived a minuscule fraction of what we the dragons have lived. I guess it boils down to me using the most powerful tool a ninja has, and use it I shall. These humans have no idea who they are messing with, and how badly it can come to hurt you in the end. Let's see if this human can learn. I went on with my day and completed my training. Sasuke was actually grateful that I offered to help him escape his stalkers, or he was really good at faking it. I still had to figure that guy out. I took a bath in the public open-air bath, and I got to say the water was wonderful for soothing my aches and pains. I decided that I would take baths there more regularly since Dad is more than likely going to keep pushing me during my training as I sleep. I honestly can tell you pushing my boost ability to my near breaking point was harsh, to say the least. Make me levitate an entire statue using my energy from one hand was painful, to say the least. The real treat was that I actually came in, and just as I was enjoying my bath, a white-haired man began to look through the wall that separates the men and women's side of the bath, which to me and anyone else, if there was any, would be considered an insult to the women bathing because they were being viewed naked without their approval. Peeping is the common term. I did my best to swim under the water in the large sauna area, and without even him noticing, I got behind him and I swear he was acting every bit the pervert, giggling while taking notes on a piece of paper. I took a deep breath and without him even noticing me I sent my fire breath right at the towel he was wearing. I left before he even noticed that something was burning. Next thing I know I heard a loud yell, and someone jumping high in the air, landing head first on the women's side of the pool. I got to say to the ladies, they sure know how to make a nice rhythm on that drum. Did I say drum? I am sorry, I mean they sure knew how to beat a pervert in such a way that it produced a rather nice melody. It has a real upbeat rhythm. I am no expert when it comes to music, but put a nice romantic set of lyrics to it, and I could see people dancing while hearing it. As I got dressed, I have to give credit to the pervert. He took the beating that would kill most people and he actually recovered enough to get dressed fast enough to catch up to me. So it was you who ruined my chance at collecting some research data. I will have you know my research is a great benefit to this village. I was not about to listen to some pervert telling me his perverted violation of the privacy of several human females was actually done to benefit anyone, well, anyone other than his own perverted entertainment. Oh please, you are nothing more than a stinking pervert. You can try to say any excuse, but that doesn't change the fact you violated the privacy of those women. You wanted to see them naked? Why didn't you ask for their permission? He'll pay them. There is such a career as modeling after all. So keep your excuses for someone gullible enough to believe them. You are a pervert, nothing else. He looked at me and really had a hurt look on his face. He began to do this weird little dance. Men worship me and women love me. I am known from east to west, for I am Jiraiya the Toad Mountain Sage. I looked at him, and if he thought that I would be impressed, he was waiting for his breath. I took a deep breath and let out a stream of fire that had him jumping up in the air trying to avoid my flames. You can try to impress others, but you don't impress me. I saw your real nature, and it is nothing honorable or sagely about it. You are a pervert. This time it was just a warning. Do that again and I am telling the Hokage about you. Now get lost, you stinking pervert. That was the final straw on the guy as he walked right up to me with a furious look on his face. Okay, you don't find me impressive, fine punk, but get one thing straight, I am no mere pervert. I am a super pervert. I walked away leaving the idiot, like that makes it better, who is so proud of their moral flaws that they become angry because I didn't recognize how depraved he really was. I walked towards the office of the Hokage. I got the treatment I was expecting. His secretary told me to get the hell out of the building, crawl in a hole and die. That is when I noticed a small sign with her name on it. It was on a picture frame and I recognized someone from my class. You know, Mrs. Haruno, I am a classmate of your daughter. I happen to sit a few seats away from her. Let me let you in on a little secret. I happen to have a better sense than my friend Akamaru, and he is the partner of Kiba Inuzuka. You know how good their sense of smell is, well mine is better. She looked at me, or maybe I should just say she glared at me. What is the point in telling me that? Foxes are supposed to have a good sense of smell. You being a demon fox, I am not surprised that you do have a good sense of smell. I decided to push the intercom button. The light came on and I knew that the people inside the office were hearing me. Excuse me, Hokage, but I just came to report something that I found rather disturbing when I was taking a bath in the public bath and sauna of our village. I know it is late, but would you mind hearing what I found? There was a silence, and then I heard the old man's voice. Sure, Naruto, you know you can always come and have a chat with me. Come right in, the door is always unlocked. I turned the intercom and I saw her glaring at me. As I said, I have an excellent sense of smell, and wouldn't you know that I always get this very distinct smell coming from where your daughter sits. Now keep that in mind next time you decided to insult me or treat me in an uncivilized manner. I know your secret, and I will expose you and your daughter if you tarnish my honor again. She immediately started to look scared, and I mean really scared. You know the truth? You know what I did? What did her father do? You know why we did what we did? I began to walk towards the door. You and your lover used me as a scapegoat. You hid the real fox by making people think I was the fox. I could expose you too. I could tell the entire village and tell them how to find that mark on her body. She now was crying as she grabbed me by my clothes. You know what would happen if you do that. You know how she would be treated. Would you subject my daughter to that kind of a life? Please, as a mother, I beg you, show mercy and spare my daughter from having to live like that. I took hold of her hand and got her to let go of me. I told you, if you tarnish my honor I would expose you both. This is not a threat, it's a warning. Now think very carefully. Do you want to make an enemy out of me? I can keep that secret, or I could expose you. Keep that in mind next time we meet. Am I better as your enemy or as your friend? I walked into the office of the Hokage and began to walk towards his desk. You don't need to tell me anything, Naruto, I already know. I looked at the crystal ball that was on his desk. So you know a pervert was peeping at the women of your village? Tell me, Hokage, why do you allow this pervert to do something so morally wrong? He laughed and told me to sit down. Let me tell you a little bit about my old student Jiraiya. Once you know him better you might actually change your mind about him. Chapter 4. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD, this is a fanfiction only. Well, if there was any doubt that they were not grading my tests and homework correctly, these past 5 years have proven it beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are indeed grading my materials incorrectly. For the past 5 years, they must have given me the lowest grades possible. The Ninja Academy has a tradition to reward or humiliate certain students. The top student of both genders are given the title of Top Ninja or Top Kunoichi of the Year, and the student with the lowest grade is given the humiliating title of Dead Last of the Year. Why did I need to mention this? It is quite simple. I did my very best to answer the questions, and reviewing my answers to the question I always was supposed to get 100 in all the tests that I checked my answers, and I checked every single one. I did all my assigned work, and only Sasuke, Niji and Hinata can match me in the accuracy exam. Only me and Sasuke got perfect scores. I achieved this by working to the point that my arms felt numb. After all this you would think I would at least avoid getting the title of Dead Last. Well, you would be wrong. In the past 5 years, these have been the titles given. Sasuke is the Top Ninja of the Year, Sakura is the Top Kunoichi, and I am the Dead Last, and I mean every single year. Sasuke, thanks to his bloodline trait, is pretty much the prince of the village, or at least he is given the royal treatment. Sakura's mother is not only the aide to the Hokage but also a member of the council, and I am considered the embodiment of everything the village would wish dead. 5 years and now I am facing my last exam, my final exam that would determine who would be on my genin team if I am allowed to graduate. Somehow, seeing that Mizuki is the one giving the test, I don't think they will actually let me graduate. I mean, these people actively hate my guts. The last thing they would want is for me to be able to earn a living. Once again I finished my exams, and once again Sasuke is looking a bit worried. Sakura, on the other hand, is practically jumping from her seat since she looks that happy. As soon as Iruka finished looking through the exams, he placed the one item that was given to all graduates on the table before him. It was the headband with a metal plaque, and on it was the symbol of the village. Every ninja has one of these so that they can identify where they come from. Even rogue ninja have these, except they scratch the village symbol. Trying to scratch it out of anger, I can certainly understand feeling like that. Iruka began to call every name. I looked at Sasuke and smiled. Look, Sasuke, we both know you are getting one of those headbands, the title of top student, and I will get either the title of worst student or get kicked out. So relax, they aren't going to fail an Uchiha Elite now, are they? Sasuke looked at me and he indeed relaxed a little bit. Everyone was called, and I mean everyone was called except me. It turns out I was not the dead last. They flat out decided to flunk me and worse, kick me out of the academy. I guess I shouldn't stick around. The last thing I need is to be here when every parent of my classmates comes to my classroom to congratulate their son or daughter. This whole farce was bad enough, to add insult to injury by watching them be hugged by their parents. Why was I sent to this place? Why couldn't I have grown up like so many of my classmates? With my parents, in a place where I could have friends and not just people pretending to be my friends. Dad said someone stole me. Why did he dump me here? I couldn't help feeling sad. I sat on the swing that was on one of the trees in the schoolyard. I knew that this could happen, it made sense, but feeling it is a whole different thing. That is when Mizuki, yes, that Mizuki, the teacher that always glared at me, came to where I was. You really wanted to graduate, didn't you, Naruto? Look, I tried to be generous with my portion of the exams, but Iruka simply would not let you graduate unless you passed all the exams. You know being a ninja is dangerous, Naruto. I know that Iruka only did that so you wouldn't get yourself killed. I looked at him and he was actually smiling. The sick bastard was pretending he actually cared, and was smiling at me. I guess I can pretend too. It is just not fair. I went through all the questions in my head and I know I got them right. I did all the jutsu that I was asked as good as Sasuke. It's just not fair. I pretended to look at the dirt, and look really sadder than I was. You know, Naruto, I really shouldn't tell you this. It's a secret among teachers that there is a secret test you can take, and if you pass it you will graduate with your peers. Who is the idiot kidding? I read every book in the library, and that is both the village and the personal library in the Hokage's own office. There is no such a thing as an alternative test. This must be a trap and I could practically smell it. Really? What is it? How do I take it? I swear I am faking it, like when Kiba told Iruka that one time that Akamaru ate his homework. Even Akamaru was glaring at Kiba after he said that. All you need to do is prove that you have what it takes to be a ninja. You have to sneak into the Hokage's office and once there steal a big red scroll, go to the old hunting cabin out in the forest outside the village, open the scroll and learn a single jutsu from it. I will find you, and if you can do the jutsu you graduate. See, it's easy. I began to walk towards my home, and as I walked away from him the sour scent I knew so well was coming from Mizuki. Oh, I will learn a jutsu from that scroll, but you will learn to respect a dragon before I send you to your maker Mizuki. I waited till it was dark and sure enough, I sneaked into the office, took the scroll without setting off the hidden alarms. At least that is what I figured until I was touched by the Hokage on my shoulder. You know, Naruto, that is called the Forbidden Scroll. That is where the shadow clone jutsu I taught you is written. Mind telling me why are you stealing it? I looked at him. Stealing it is such a harsh accusation, Hokage. I am just borrowing it. You see, I have to deal with a possible traitor to the village, and I need this scroll as bait. He immediately placed his book back on the hidden bookcase and looked at me. Very well, Naruto, just treats that old scroll with care. It's been in the village for a long time, and it holds all the jutsu and knowledge of all the Hokage of our village. I will help you out in this little trap. I am going to pretend that you actually stole it, and send a ninja to catch you and recover the scroll. That should make your trap look more convincing. I didn't wait for him to say anything more and ran out of there. 12 minutes later, and sure enough, I had every Chunin, Jounin, and Umbu trying to catch me. I evaded them and made it to the hunting cabin rather easily. I hope that it wasn't too easy and the bastard Mizuki figures this is a trap. I opened the scroll and began reading until I read something that looked quite interesting. It even had some strange kunai sealed right into the scroll in a storage seal. I began to really like the jutsu as I finished reading it. This thing was a breeze. I did everything I was supposed to do, and sure enough, all the things that were supposed to happen did. That is when I decided to mark every single kunai I had with the mark of the jutsu I just learned. I carry a few kunai, just a dozen or so. It didn't take me that long to finish marking them as the jutsu on the scroll said. I finished putting the last touches when Iruka of all people showed up. Could it be that he and Mizuki wanted to betray the village? Naruto, mind telling me why did you steal the forbidden scroll? I know you are sad that you didn't graduate it, but it's so unlike you to pull a prank. I looked at him and smiled. Didn't Mizuki tell you I was taking the secret exam? See, I already learned a jutsu from the scroll like he told me. The look of shock on his face told me he was not in on this, so the only one that was betraying the village was Mizuki. Boy, it's a shock. A teacher of the future ninja of Konoha betraying the village. Alright, I will stop with my sarcastic rant. Naruto, there is no such a thing as a secret test. Mizuki told me you failed all the exams. I was feeling sick in the morning, so he asked me to let him grade the exams. To tell you the truth, Naruto, I was also shocked to see you fail. I was sure you would pass. After all, you are one of the smartest kids in my class. That is when I heard something spinning and I knew what it was. That backstabbing bastard Mizuki loved that big shuriken he always has strapped to his back. Iruka, get down! As soon as I said that and pushed him out of the way, I managed to dodge the shuriken. It came to get stuck on the tree that was near me. Mizuki, you tried to kill Naruto. Why would you do that? He is our student, you can't kill him. Mizuki came down from where he was and landed on a lower tree branch. You always did have a soft side for this freak, didn't you, Iruka? I guess it's only natural, you both are orphaned after all. Say, Naruto, do you want to know why the village hates you? Why they treat you so bad? Iruka began to panic and looked at me for a second. Mizuki, shut the hell up. Don't you dare say another word. From my perspective, it looked like Mizuki was actually encouraged to continue his little speech. We taught you the fourth Hokage killed the Ninetales and he died doing so, but that is a lie. He actually couldn't kill the Ninetales, instead he sealed it inside a newborn. You need me to spell it out for you, Naruto? He sealed it inside you, you are the Ninetales fox. He jumped down from the tree branch and began to smile at me. I know the feeling of being betrayed, Naruto. I should be a jounin, an elite ninja warrior, but because this village is unfair they stuck me teaching so that I wouldn't get stronger. I admit I lied to you, but now they consider you a traitor, they will kill you, Naruto. Come on, give me the scroll and together we will go to a village that appreciates us. I looked at him. I swear Mizuki really missed a wonderful chance of pursuing a profession that fit him like a glove. But then again, the circus only came to Konoha once a year, and that would mean Mizuki would have to wait a while to actually apply for that job. Well, at least he would have lost of time to practice his act, putting on his makeup and juggling. You also said that I should learn a jutsu from the scroll, and you would want me to demonstrate. Don't you want to see the jutsu I learned? He laughed and slapped one hand on his own face. I totally forgot about that. You did manage to learn a jutsu from the scroll? Amazing. Sure, Naruto, why don't you show me the jutsu you just learned? Kidding. He began to run towards me and I began to throw kunai at him. They all failed to hit, or so he thought. See, Naruto, this is why you failed to graduate. I mean, I am a clear target, and you haven't managed to hit me once. In truth, I was going to kill you and take the scroll to another village that would give me the respect and income one deserve. No more teaching snot-nosed punks for me. He walked in the center of the field we were at and looked around. Look at the place, dozens of kunai, and you didn't manage to hit me once. You think anyone would let you graduate with throwing skills like this? Where is the jutsu you said you learned? You didn't learn a damn thing, did you, demon freak? I jumped down from the tree where I was. I guess it's time to finish my mission. I am going to send you to your maker and then report the mission to the Hokage, just like any ninja is supposed to do. He began laughing like a maniac and looked at me. I am a chunin and you are an academy dropout. It would take a miracle for something as lousy as you to even touch me. Just look around you. You can see how many times you failed to hit me. I looked at Iruka and smiled. Oh, don't you worry about me, Iruka. I will take care of this. It's easy to get rid of a traitor like him. Why, I will get this mission over in a flash. I took my remaining kunai in hand and pumped my energy through the marks on myself. Time to me seemed to slow down, and I jumped from one kunai to another, and I cut Mizuki each time I did it. I jumped around like that between all the kunai I threw, and when I was done, Mizuki dropped dead. I held my hand up and every single kunai came to my hand and I placed them back on my holster. I took a storage scroll and placed Mizuki's dead body inside the storage seal in the scroll. I placed that in my scroll pouch on my right leg. I walked over to Iruka, who was looking at me with his mouth open. I guess my fight really surprised him. You might want to close your mouth, Iruka. You will end up eating a fly. Naruto, do you have any idea what you did? I looked at him as I walked over to him and helped him stand up from the ground where he was sitting. Sure, I told Mizuki I learned a jutsu from the scroll, but in truth, I learned another one besides the one you just saw. It's just that I wouldn't have a body to present for my mission report if I used it. Come on, Iruka, I still have to report the mission to the Hokage, return the scroll, the dead body, and prepare for my execution. Boy, I got a lot of things to get ready for. I began running towards the village and managed to get into the office of the Hokage through an open window. I guess the old man left the window open for me to get in. What do you mean your execution, Naruto? You just protected a very important scroll for the village? Why would they want to kill you? I told him I also learned 3 jutsu from the scroll, which means I know some rather sensitive information. Iruka, I am not a fox, demon fox, or even spirit fox. I am a dragon. I had to put up with the stench from that fox for 6 years. 6 years of smelling that fox scent and the smell of his container being in heat for the ever-loved and spoiled cousin of mine. Of course, they would want to kill me since I could expose her. Hiruzen walked out from behind where he was hiding and began to nod his head. Normally that would be the case, Naruto. But you actually protected something very important for our village, defeated a traitor with some restraint, and showed loyalty by coming back here knowing what you do to report your mission. So no execution for you, Naruto, here catch. I opened my hand and I caught something. In truth, I was expecting him throwing me the new copy of that perverted book I hate so much, but instead it was a red headband. I took it and I looked at his nod. Congratulations on a mission that was well done, you graduate Naruto, and I shall put an S-rank pay for the mission you just did for the village. Since you will have enough cash, why don't you invite me and Irika to go out and eat ramen with you? This calls for a celebration. Chapter 5. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD, this is a fanfiction only. The next day was the day for the team placements, and let's face it, with everything I knew, I pretty much knew the tradition that the village had. I was not looking forward to going to the academy, but I did promise I would go, and a dragon always keeps his or her word. I got dressed and jumped out the window. I began to run across rooftops and jumping from building to building. This was a way only Chunin or higher took as a means to get around the village, so in other words, I was not going to be bothered by anyone. I was definitely not in the mood of having to deal with the stupid attitudes of the villagers and their equally annoying glares. As I reached the academy, I saw Sasuke running towards the entrance. Both Sakura and Ino were hot on his trail. One swift quick and a large tree branch came crashing down and blocked their path. You owe me one more, cousin. Not that I expect you to be grateful for all the things I have done on your behalf. I walked down the wall and jumped off to reach the door before even Sasuke reached it. I pumped chakra through my legs, and before anyone could tell me to get out, I was inside the classroom. I guess I was the first to make it. I went to my usual spot and sat down. Just as I began to relax, I heard a voice coming from the doorway. Naruto, why are you here? You failed to graduate. Didn't anyone tell you only graduates are supposed to come? I looked at him and yawned. Look, cousin, the Hokage gave me this headband and told me to come. You got a problem with me being here, then take up with him. I think he was going to be in his office. He walked over and sat on the seat right next to mine. Oh, by the way, the two stalkers are coming this way too. What a lousy way to start a day. He looked at me and began to smile. That was something I didn't expect him to do. I know, thanks for delaying them with that tree branch. Too bad, had you been a few seconds earlier you probably could have sent them both to the hospital and I wouldn't have to put up with them for a few days. I looked at him, and I could help but to sigh as he said that. Look, Sasuke, you could get away with doing something like that. You are an Uchiha elite, but if I did that I would have the entire council up in arms demanding my execution. He began to laugh as I looked at the doorway and saw both Ino and Sakura look both angry and tired for some reason. Graduates only, freak, get the hell out. I guess the nickname I came up for Sakura was actually accurate. I often called her the Pink Banshee. Too bad her screams aren't useful in combat. She would really be someone impressive if that was the case. Look, I am not entirely thrilled to see you two either. I was given his headband and told to come. You got a problem, then talk to the Hokage. They both took their usual seats and began glaring at me like usual. Irika finally decided to come in as the last of the students came in. Since everyone is here, let's get started with the teams. I know that you don't want to be here getting insulted and hearing people say horrible things such as you don't deserve to be here, Naruto. I heard what Sakura screamed as I entered the academy. Naruto protected my life and a very valuable scroll from a traitor. You might notice Mizuki is not among us. He beat Mizuki in single combat, protected the village and my life. That is why the Hokage chose to award him with being allowed to graduate, something he should already have had it not been for Mizuki not grading his tests properly. He looked at the sour look on Sakura's face and continued, the tests are impossible for me to grade and give him a proper grade. Mizuki used a fire jutsu and burned all his test papers. There is no record of them ever being filed. As much as I hate to say this, Kiba, you lost your title as dead last. That title is now Naruto's. He looked at Sasuke and Sakura before he continued his speech. As village tradition dictates, the best ninja, kunoichi and dead last of the graduating class as placed in a team together. So that means Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto are not part of team number 7, under the supervision and instruction of Kakashi Hatake. He told me to wait for him in the rooftop of this building. I went outside and walked up the wall to get to the roof. I picked a nice enough of a place and sat down. Sakura and Sasuke took their sweet time using the stairs. I still say this freak shouldn't even be here. I turned around from where I was sitting and looked at Sakura. My sheer hatred and anger must have been noticeable in my glare. Look, Banshee, I am not thrilled with this arrangement either. Having you so near is torture for me. Your stench is liable to cause me to lose my breakfast. She intentionally sat right next to me and Sasuke right next to her. It's called a cologne, you ignorant savage. I will have you know it is one of the most popular, since I was lucky to be able to reserve a bottle. I looked at Sasuke, who was looking at me. If there is another person I feel bad for, it's you, Sasuke. Sorry that you are going to be stuck with one of your stalkers in your team. I wonder how long is our instructor going to sit up in that tree? I mean, it pretty much beats the whole purpose of hiding if I can find him that easily. Sasuke looked at me with a smile. Thanks for the sympathy. Maybe he is trying to figure how well we get along. It really shouldn't take him this long. I think Sakura is a pest, and I happen to know you don't like any better. I looked at Sakura, who obviously had a look that her feelings were hurt. Oh, come on, Sasuke, there's no need to insult you, no. Sakura immediately was surprised hearing me say that, and in a rare occurrence she actually smiled at me. I had to do something to kill that immediately, or I was going to throw up. You shouldn't insult pests like that. Rats and cockroaches have to work a lot to find food, shelter, or just stay alive. I doubt Sakura here has ever worked 1/10 of how they have to work every day. I mean, look at her, you can't get this spoiled working hard. I doubt that she knows how to wash her own clothes. That immediately made her look at me with her usual glare. That instant our instructor jumped down from a higher tree branch and came to land a few feet away from us. Nice to see you are getting along so well. How about we begin with an introduction? I am your team instructor. My name is Kakashi Heikate and I like fruit-flavored drinks and Ika. I hate slackers and people that abandon their teammates. My dream is to one day see each one of you become great ninjas. You are next, Sasuke. Sasuke looked at him, and then he looked at Sakura before introducing himself. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like training and learning new jutsu. I dislike weaklings and people who think who can use me as a stepping stone for their own benefit. My dream is to find a good wife, rebuild my clan, and punish a traitor. Kakashi looked at me since I was the very last. I began shaking my head and decided to get this farce over with as quickly as possible. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like a lot of things, I hate even more things, and my dream is none of your damn business. All of them looked at me like I was insane. Alright, Kakashi didn't, but then again with that mask and how he was looking at the others, how could I tell? How about a real introduction, Naruto? These people are the people who will work with you, and your very life may depend on them at some point in your career. I looked at Sakura and then I looked at Kakashi, like I care if my life ever depends on her. I might as well get measured for my coffin. Now that I think about it, the village is probably going to put me in a garbage bag and throw me in the nearest incinerator. No reason to waste money. Kakashi looked at me and for a brief second, he had this really hurt and sad look in his eyes. Well, here is how things are going to be. You and the rest of the team will have to meet me on training ground number 7, and I will give you a test. If you pass the test, then you will be allowed to do missions as genin. Sakura looked at him with a scared look. Even I can tell she is faking it. We graduated from the academy and passed our tests. Well, Sasuke and I did. Naruto here was allowed to pass out of pity, so if anyone needs to pass an exam, it's him, not us. Kakashi looked at me and then looked at Sakura. I know what he did, and he was not allowed to graduate out of pity. The Hokage would never allow that to happen. The academy tests were there to make sure you were ready to take my test. The test will be tomorrow morning, and you might want to skip breakfast. He just disappeared in a cloud of leaves and I decided not to stick around. I jumped towards the tree, walked up to the top branches and decided to jump to the nearest rooftop, began heading home. I kept running till I felt someone was following me. I quickly hid behind a water tower till I saw that it was Sasuke and Sakura. I jumped to the top of the water tower and looked at them. Mind telling me why you two following me? If it's to see where I live, you can ask your mother, Sakura, and let me tell you, my neighborhood is not a nice place. It certainly is no place for you, Sakura, to even think of going there, and not a place of an Uchiha elite. So again I ask, why are you following me? Sakura flat out said that she was following Sasuke. I need to plan what we are going to do for our genin test. I figure since you probably read about them, you would have a good idea what we should expect. I looked at Sasuke and then at Sakura. And what makes you think I would share any of my knowledge with the two of you? Sakura would be the first to celebrate if I failed the test, and if both Sakura and I failed the test, you can be placed in a team that doesn't have me or the pink banshee stalker. Sakura couldn't deny what I was saying, but Sasuke just smiled at me. Come on, cousin, drop the act and tell me what you think this so-called test is all about. I know you, and I have a feeling that you know exactly what Kakashi wants to test us on, so how about you telling us so that we can get started doing something useful? I could very well deny it, and tell them I had no clue, but that would also give Sakura a chance to say something insulting, so I decided to let them know what I was thinking about. You heard as well as I do, he hates people that abandon their teammates. That alone spoke volumes if you actually know how to listen. Something tells me his entire test revolves around the one thing he never expects from a group like ours. That something is teamwork. He probably thinks that you, Sasuke, believe we are not good enough to work with or even be team members. Sakura, I expect he thinks you only care about Sasuke, and that is true, and for me, I imagine he thinks I don't care about anyone other than myself. I looked at them both and saw that they were actually listening. So here is what he will do. He will come up with a test that will try to put us against each other, something that we can't do by ourselves and that would end up harming or seem like a benefit in other ways. He told us to avoid breakfast. I say to hell with that idea. I am going to that test but preparing like I am going to fight a serious fight. Sakura looked at me and then at Sasuke. Why should we listen to him, Sasuke? Maybe he wants us to fail, just so that he doesn't feel like the only failure in our class. I don't trust this freak, and nothing good ever could come from listening to this freak. I say we obey what Kakashi told us, skip breakfast tomorrow and go to the training ground as he told us. I was not about to get into an argument with her. She never trusted me and she didn't even know the truth about her situation. I could shatter her flimsy look on reality anytime I wanted. Her mother knew that, and that is why she has been more sociable than she ever had been, especially after our little talk. I turned around and was preparing to leave, but I was not going to leave without one last warning. Sakura, your opinion of me means so little that I simply don't care. You want to ignore my advice? Well, that is fine by me. If we end up back in the academy because of you, just remember that I tried to offer you some advice and you threw it down the toilet. I really let loose and began to run as fast as my legs could go. I jumped across the rooftops and up the walls till I was gliding over the wires that crisscrossed across the entire village. I made it home in record time, and since only Jounin used the wires to travel across the village, I was not as delayed as I would have been traveling on the ground. I went through my window and sure enough, there were the messages written in fecal matter. I do hope the people who wrote these at least washed their hands before they touched or ate anything. A water jutsu and a wind jutsu later, my walls were sparkling clean, at least for the time I was home. I expect the hate messages would be back on my wall by the time I get back from doing what my team will be doing. I knew full well that missions had ranks, and those ranks determined the danger, difficulty, and pay. The rank also determined what kind of mission it was. Hunting, gathering, capture, elimination, escort are some of the mission types. The mission details would be written on a scroll, and so would be the rank of the mission. The missions rank from D to S, with D being the lowest of the low. Glorified chores as far as I can tell, and the pay was pathetic. I could do at least 1,000 of these and wouldn't be able to buy much, but then again the shops in the village tend to have higher prices for everything if I am the one buying. I decided to close my window, lay some booby traps and go to sleep. No reason to stay up if I didn't have a good book. That is another thing I had to get used to. The Hokage would let me read things from his personal library, but I had to read them in the library. In truth, I understand where he was coming from. If I take them home, I can pretty much tell they would either be ripped to pieces or burned to ashes. After a few hours of hunting and gathering food in the forest, I began to walk back to my home. My stove never works, and had I not figured a way to use elemental jutsu, I would still only be able to eat my food raw. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and if anyone watched me cook, they would know it is true. A water jutsu through the pipes, and sure enough, I had another cold shower. A wind jutsu helped me get dry, and earth jutsu made the lumpy horror I call my bed feel a lot better. Like I said, I used the elemental manipulation techniques I learned to make the place I live in seem and be a little bit more livable. The next morning I ate my breakfast, and seeing that Sakura was an idiot, I decided to pack a lunch for myself and one for each of my team members. I know that my cooking is a bit strange, but considering where I got the ingredients, it shouldn't really be such a surprise. I began to run towards the training ground we were supposed to meet. Chapter 6. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD, this is a fanfiction only. I walked over to Sasuke, and the first thing that greets me is the glares I get from Sakura. Well, what can I possibly expect from her? A good morning, or did you have sleep well? I should think not. I walked over and sat down right between Sasuke and Sakura. Honestly, I think I saw Sasuke actually smile as I did that. Well, call it a goodwill sacrifice. I had to stand being near Sakura and the stench she was giving off. I really wish she would be more liberal with the way she uses that perfume of hers. So everyone ready for the exam? I just know it will be something horrible. Have you read about the types of exams they put teams through in the past? Sakura kept ignoring me and glaring at me like I had done something against her family. Actually, Naruto, I have read a few things about it from the few diaries that were in the Uchiha archives. Which do you find to be the single most insidious test? I personally don't like the hide or fail exam myself. The one that the team has to hide for 2 hours, and if they find one of the team, the entire team fails. I looked at Sasuke and began laughing. Oh, that exam is a dream compared to the one I read from the book I read in the library. It's called the bell exam. The instructor told the team that they had to get a bell from him, and they would have to fight him with intent to kill. I mean, talk about one-sided exams. We have to match the skills of a high-ranking ninja when we are nothing more than fresh out of the academy genin. I looked at Sakura, she was still not paying attention. Sasuke was nodding, realizing what I was saying. I see what you are saying. As a jounin, there is no way a genin can match his skills. He can evade anything the genin can do, and worse, they know more than the genin could ever know. I began to nod my head. Yeah, it's like expecting the field mouse to kill a tiger. To make matters worse, the field mouse is barely off the tit. We might have learned a few things in the academy, but to reach our instructor's rank he had to get a whole lot stronger, polish those skills like there was no tomorrow, acquired experience, and skills the academy doesn't even teach. That is when Kakashi decided to jump from behind the monument that was in the field. Naruto, from your introduction I got the feeling that you didn't care. I have to say you really surprised me. I had no idea that you could show such respect and admiration. I have to tell you on behalf of myself and all the other jounin in the village, thank you for acknowledging our dedication. I can't help but to smile as you recognize the difference in skill and strength. I looked at him and he was still looking at that stupid orange book. Except that most jounin actually arrive at the meeting with their team on time. They don't sit behind a large rock reading a book. What is that thing? Ika? Didn't the women of the entire fire country once tried to get as S-rank mission to have every one of those books burned? He put the book away into his belt pouch, and even I could tell he was smiling. Actually they did, but the Hokage loves literature as much as I do. Now let's get to why we are meeting today. Sorry to tell you Naruto, we are doing the bell test, except with one little change. He took the bells out of his pocket, and I was having a bad feeling about this. He was holding only 2 bells, which to me means that one student was going to fail no matter what. As you said Naruto, we have to polish our skills and perfect them. That takes time, so I am a very busy person, so in this bell test only 2 of you will pass, and 1 of you will fail no matter what you do. You have 30 minutes to take the bells from me. You can ambush me, fight me to get them, nothing is off limits. The bad news is the time began to count when I showed you the bells, so what will it be? One look at Sasuke and he nodded his head, like we would just tell you, see ya. We each took off and I began sending shadow clones transformed into each of us in different directions. This should give us a chance to come up with a plan. We met at the farthest distance from the monument that we could go. Alright, what is the plan, Naruto? Sakura first complained that Sasuke would be better to formulate a plan, but I was not in any mood to pay attention to her stupidity. Sakura here will be our decoy. She will pretend that she is burning a copy of Ika. I got a copy of Ika Paradise from a dumpster near my home. While Kakashi is busy trying to save his precious treasure, Sasuke and I steal the bells. I will toss them both between each other, and we will buy enough time to pass. Sakura was not liking the plan. It was easy to see how she was biting her own lower lip and practically growling at me. Before you object, we all have to agree that he modified the test to make us turn on each other. The last thing the village wants is for me to pass, so this would make the villagers and most ninja very happy. So before you say anything, you two are taking the bells. If it means I have to fail for you two to pass, well, I will have another year to polish my skills. Sakura looked like I had said something that she was not expecting. Alright, as long as I can be with Sasuke, I don't have anything to say against the plan. Turns out Sasuke was the one that was glaring at me in the end. Guess the idea of being alone with Sakura was something we both disliked. The plan was going off without a problem. Sakura set the copy I got on fire, and sure enough Kakashi went to try and put the fire out, screaming about his precious being in danger. I got the bells rather quickly using a substitution jutsu. I left a pair of iron balls the same size and weight of the bells. We both took off, and wouldn't you know it, the second we took off, it was the second he had finished putting the flames out. He took off after us and he began chasing us as we basically began to play hot potato with the bells, and sure enough we kept Kakashi trying to catch the bells or take them from us. Enough fooling around, guys, give me the bells. I quickly looked at Sasuke, and just as Sakura came into view I knew that the time was up. I tossed 1 bell each and they each caught it. Sorry instructor, time's up. Looks like Sakura and Sasuke have each a bell. Well, tough luck for me. I guess it's back to the academy for me. Good luck being in a team with the Banshee cousin. Be sure to tell me how she messed up your mission. I could use a laugh since I will be stuck repeating a year at the academy. Sakura looked like she won a prize for a second. I don't think so, Naruto. You don't pass, I am not going to keep this bell. It was your plan that helped us get the bells to begin with. I ain't going to play you like that, cousin. You fail, we both go back to the academy for another year. I looked at Sasuke and could not help but to laugh. You don't fool me, cousin. You just don't want to be stuck with the Banshee and end up doing missions with just the 2 of you. He began laughing as I said that. You sure are a genius, Naruto. It's a real wonder why they call you the dead last when you figured me out so easily. Sakura looked at her bell and she actually tossed it at me. I caught it. I don't need to owe a freak like you any favors. If Sasuke is going back, I have no reason to actually pass. And Sasuke is right. You came up with the plan and it actually worked. We all pass or we all fail. If you fail, Sasuke will fail on purpose. Kakashi looked at us and was glaring at us. Do you idiots even know what this test was supposed to be testing? We each turned to look at him and began shaking our heads as he said that. We decided to tell him together, teamwork. The look of shock and the immediate laughter that was heard in the training field was like Kakashi heard the best joke in the history of comedy. I can't believe it, you are the first team ever to figure this out. I guess you realize that the 2 bells was to make you turn on each other. Sometimes for the benefit of the team, a member needs to do something that is not beneficial, or even good for one team member. Sometimes a team member needs to sacrifice for the good of the team. I guess this means the team passes. Now open those ears. A person that abandons a mission is scum, but a person that abandons their teammates is worse than scum. Come on, let's go to the office of the Hokage and get our first mission as a team. I walked with them, and I swear it took a great deal of effort for me to keep my composure. The way Sasuke and Sakura were so excited it made me shake my head. Didn't these two ever bother reading about mission classification and ranking at all? I knew that the missions we would get were going to be boring, if not feel like an absolute waste of time. They were meant to let new ninja teams to work on teamwork, build a civil working relationship with each other to trust, and be able to work as a team. I still considered them a waste of my time. Thanks to my shadow clones, I could do 10 of these before lunch and still not feel tired. As I walked through the doors, I saw the Hokage pretend to be actually busy. Yes, your team seemed to pass. That is something that I was not expecting. Kakashi, let me get your mission scroll. I need to make sure I get the appropriate one. It took 20 minutes of me seeing him to pretend to look for a mission scroll. That finally was enough for me to lose my patience. If I continued to look at Sasuke and Sakura, I would be screaming at how dumb their reaction was. Look, stop messing up with them. We both know that the missions for new teams are in the pile of scrolls right next to the C rank mission. Just give us our D rank glorified chores so we can get them done as quickly as possible. The Hokage began laughing as I said that. Do you have a problem with the D rank missions, Naruto? I looked at him and Sakura was already glaring at me. Sasuke was just staring at me with the cold stare of a dead fish. Look, D rank missions are just chores we do around the village. They are easy, pay is the worst, and unlike these people I would need to do about 100 of them to be able to buy a single kunai. How about this, you give me 10 D rank missions per day? I will do all the work. Sakura can slack off trying to make herself more appealing. Kakashi can spend that time teaching Sasuke, and I will get the pay and maybe be able to eventually buy something useful. The Hokage stopped looking at the scrolls and looked at me with a bit of anger in his eyes, and his killer intent was being felt by everyone in the room. Next to a dragon's, his was nothing to even affect me, but the two in my team looked like they were ready to lose control of their bladders. What do you mean it would take you 100 D rank missions to buy a kunai? Is there something that the merchants in the village doing that I have not been told? I looked at him and began shaking my head. I knew his secretary was not giving him my messages. The fact that he didn't know what my messages said was more than enough proof. You mean your secretary didn't give you my messages about the shops charging me 10 times the normal rate for anything, the grocers denying to sell me any food, and only Ichiraku Ramen is the only place where they will sell me any food? That actually made him stand from his seat and push the intercom button so hard that I heard the thing crack. Haruno! What is the meaning of this I hear? Naruto has left messages, and you dare not deliver them. You better have a good explanation or you will be out of a job and lose your council seat by the time I am through with you. The frantic voice of Sakura's mother was heard. She was almost in tears, or at least that is what she was pretending to be. I am sorry, Lord Hokage, but every time he delivered your message you told me not to interrupt your personal reading time. I always put them near the edge of my desk near the door to your office. I guess they must have fallen in the garbage can without me noticing. I am truly sorry. Please tell me the Hokage is not going to believe this ridiculous excuse. 1 or twice sure that can happen, but 6 years, once a week, that amount of messages could not be an accident. He sat down and I got a bad feeling about this. I see, well, everyone can make a mistake, just make sure you are more careful with all the future messages from Naruto. Damn it, if this guy is so blind to the obvious malicious intent of her secretary, it's no wonder Orochimaru managed to do so many unethical and downright cruel things to those people he kidnapped from the village. The man was a mass murderer in all accounts, and he was still alive. After seeing this I got the feeling that if he came right back and just asked him to be forgiven, Hiruzen Sarutobi would simply hug his former student and tell him that of course he would forgive him, and that it was all water under the bridge. Sorry Naruto, but if you know the reason for the ranking of missions, then you know there is a purpose to assigning one per team. Mind telling me why do we assign genin teams 1 D rank mission per day? I looked at him, and I was now the one having my killer intent leaking, and they did look like they needed to go to the bathroom. Because we need to work on getting used to working together, develop and learn teamwork techniques, and to allow us to train together so we be able to trust each other. He actually was smiling as I said that. Exactly, that is the reason. Now that you understand, let me give the D rank mission for today. He grabbed one and was about to hand it to use when I decided to say my opinion on the matter. I have no need to do any of that junk. I could work on teamwork building exercises till the sun explodes, and that is not going to change the fact that my team feel as much love, kindness, and care as the rest of the village does, meaning none at all. Sasuke and Sakura may be swimming in privileges and money, but I have to earn a living, and 1 D rank mission will not even feed a canary. At least let me do 5 missions per day. That should give Sasuke enough time to get ready, and well, there is no helping Sakura if she doesn't actually put any effort besides fashion, makeup and her diet. He looked at me and told me to calm down. Look Naruto, now that I know that they are overcharging you for everything you need, I will take care of it. There is no need for you to push yourself that much. 1 D rank mission is more than enough to make enough money to survive, trust me. Sakura looked at me and she tried to hit me on my head. I took the hit, only because I knew it would actually hurt her more than it would hurt me. The scream and tears on her face told me that she wouldn't try to do that any time in a hurry. You need to respect the Lord Hokage. As a ninja, he is our leader. He took 4 more scrolls. If it will help you, Naruto, I will accept that you do 5 missions while I talk to the merchants in our village. I trust you have no other complaints? I watched as Kakashi took the 5 scrolls and I just told him not for today, but the week was just starting. Chapter 7. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD, this is a fanfiction only. 60 of these damn chores, he called them missions, but I called them a pain in my scaly rear end. The worst one was dealing with that miserable furball. I know that most ninjas called that thing the terror of Konoha, but let's face it, the owner of was the real horror. I never have seen a woman that fat in my entire life. The way Tora explained it to me was that he had to run away or else the monster woman that was married to the leader of our country would hold him so tightly he felt his tail would come out of his mouth. For once in all these missions I actually wanted to fail, but that wouldn't be fair. I caught the cat no less than 5 times, and today I had to make certain this mission would never be assigned to anyone else again. As we returned to the office, the large-boned woman was waiting for us. Large-boned, my scaly, but this woman was fat, and I mean she made even the biggest member of the Akamichi clan look skinny compared to her. So you have my precious? Oh, don't keep me waiting, I can't wait to hug him, pet him, and carry him in my arms. Even I knew the look Taro was giving me, and for once in my life, I actually felt pity for the poor cat. Look, lady, I hate to tell you, this cat been telling me why he runs away from you so often. Your so-called hugs and your holding him is torture to the poor little feline. Honestly, from the way, he told me you got a grip that can bend metal bars. She looked at me and then at the cat. Well, I could deny it and say that how could you say such thing about a delicate lady like myself, but it is true, I do have quite the grip. I should feel insulted, but in truth, I am flattered that someone recognized my strength. So tell me, how will you let me take my precious Taro from you? I looked at the cat and it began to shiver. I looked at her and began to shake my head. You need to learn to hold him more gently. When you learn to hold 3 eggs in your hands without breaking them, I will give you the chance to hold Taro once again. Sure enough, the Hokage brought enough eggs to fill a store display, and sure enough, she began to crack them to pieces as she tried to hold them. I told her to watch her grip, to limit her strength, to be conscious of what she was holding. It took 26 eggs and a lot of patience from me. I don't think I would want to see another omelet for the rest of my life. The damnable secretary cooked every single one of those eggs and had me, Kakashi, and the Hokage to eat them as omelets. She finally was able to hold Taro, and for once in his long, miserable life, Taro was not in pain. Considering we managed to put this mission to rest, how about you giving us a real mission for once? I am this close to burning a hole in the side of a mountain. I am that angry that you had used to 5 times more missions than most genin teams ever had to do. The Hokage laughed and looked at me, but in the end, you got your wish, you got to do 5 missions per day. I don't see why you are complaining, Naruto. The shops no longer overcharge you, you received a decent pay, and your team is ready for tougher missions. I am this close to just changing to my real form and either eating the old man whole, and burning the entire building down, or just cremate the manipulative old man. It turned out he actually got me to do exactly what he wanted, and all the while he had me believing that we could get through the necessary D-rank missions faster. So how many more of these chores do I have to do to at least be able to do our first C-rank? I know that no matter what I say, you are going to get me to do things your way. So how many more D-rank missions must we do? The old man began laughing his head off. Not an even one more, I happen to have your client waiting for you. He pressed the intercom button and smiled. Haruno sent in to Zuna. I think this team is ready for the mission he wanted to hire our village for. I was not expecting much. I mean, with my sense of smell, I could smell the scent of booze on him as he stepped into the hallway. This gave me the impression the guy didn't just drink his liquor, the man must shower in it too. I mean, the stench was even making me dizzy. The man was fat, with a bald spot, and was average height. He looked at me and the others on my team with a goofy look on his face. Hokage, don't you got a better team than this? We got a punk-looking pink-haired floozy, a white-haired scarecrow that looks even more bored than I am, a black-haired emo, and a blonde kid who doesn't look smart enough to tie his own shoelaces. I looked at him and began walking towards him. When he was not expecting it, I pumped energy through my legs and appeared right behind him. I was holding a kunai to his throat. Do you want to repeat that? So tell me, you fat, pathetic, drunken old fart, do you have a death wish? 'Cause if you do, I would be more than happy to cut you like a trout and let your guts spill on the floor. Hiruzen looked at the client and then at me. Naruto, you can't kill our client, it would ruin our village's reputation. Tazuna, I would hope that you understand, for a simple escort mission these people are more than able to do it, but if you really feel like spending more, I can assign you a different team. It will cost you more since it would require a higher mission rank. The fat idiot actually began to laugh. Kids these days sure can't take a joke. I was only kidding. This team will be great. I barely even noticed this kid get behind me. All I want is to get home safe and sound. I came to buy some construction materials and collect some money on some work my company did. With the extra cash, I simply don't feel safe on my own, so I decided to spend some of it by hiring an escort mission with your village. I expect that at most we will run into some bandits, but like I said, these kids will be more than enough to deal with such a threat. He walked over to the Hokage and in front of us. Sorry that I insulted you, but I only did it to break the ice. So Hokage, how long till my escort is ready to leave and we can be on our way? The old man looked at us. Team, you have 5 minutes to pack and be ready for a week-long mission. This mission is to escort our client to his hometown in Wave. You are to ensure his safe arrival home. You may return to the village once the mission is complete, and he is safely back in his home in his hometown. I just looked at the other members of my team and began patting my belt pouch. I don't know about the others, but I am always ready. I have everything I will need in a sealing scroll and I am ready to go. Sasuke smiled and he began to nod his head. It seems Sakura was the only one that had not prepared a sealing scroll for something like this. Well, I need more than 5 minutes. A girl takes longer to get ready. I would be able to get everything ready in 5 minutes if Sasuke helps me pack. I, for maybe the first time in my entire time knowing my cousin, felt actual pity for him. Okay, Sasuke will help you pack your junk. Go ahead, me and Kakashi will go with the client and wait for you two by the gate. Sasuke was glaring at me. Either he was really angry about something or his eyes were beginning to activate. Can I have a word with you in private before I go and help Sakura, cousin? I saw Sakura leave with such a smile on her face. I walked outside to the rooftop of the building through an open window. Sasuke was quick to follow. As soon as we reached the rooftop, I heard Sasuke take a deep breath. What is wrong with you? I don't want to help her pack or be anywhere in her home alone with her. I looked at him and realized he actually thought that I was being serious. I stayed quiet, and I could tell him it was a noble sacrifice for the good of the team, but even I understood where he was coming from. Will you relax? It's not like you are the one going to do the packing. I mean, would I really subject my cousin to that kind of horror? Have a little faith, I will take care of it. Sasuke was not buying it. He simply gave me a look that to me screamed, how? I will send a shadow clone that will change to look like you, the same thing I did back when I helped you evaded your stalkers. I mean, after the life I had, what could be the most horrible thing she could do to the clone that would be worse? Sasuke relaxed a little and looked at me. So that was your plan when you agreed that I would help her pack? I looked at him and began shaking my head. I never realized that I would have to have this conversation. Look, we want to get the drunk loser home as quickly as possible. We both know that this mission is not going to be any different than a D-rank mission for both of us. But maybe we will get lucky and the drunk is lying through his teeth. A real difficult mission that might even get you to qualify for the Chunin exams. He looked at me and began to smile. If I am a Chunin, then our team would have to break up, and I would be assigned to a new team. I could even be lucky enough not to have the Pink Banshee as a member. I looked at him and began wondering if that was the only reason he was smiling. Exactly, and to do that I will be the proverbial scapegoat again. Like I said, I sent a shadow clone while you had your back turned. He should be helping her pack as we speak. As we walked into the office, Sakura was nowhere to be found, and sure enough, we walked with our drunk client to the gate. You do realize that actually quitting drinking would make you a lot safer when you travel. He just looked at me and began shaking his head. Look, kid, I need to drink, alright? I have gone through so many horrible things in my life that drinking helps me forget about those memories. I imagine in a few years you will want to hit the bottle, and one day you will tell a kid the same thing I did. Kakashi was actually smiling for some odd reason. Any idea how long till Sakura finishes packing? I looked at Kakashi and told him she would get done in 5 minutes or less. He asked me how was I so sure? I got the most horrible memory from the clone, and I looked at an extremely angry Sakura coming my way. My shadow clone had actually managed to get her to pack everything she needed. For some odd reason she was trying to get my clone to help her pick clothing. I am happy to say he really put his foot down when she said she needed to try on some underwear, and he should pick which one looked best. He actually did something stupid too. He said that he would rather go blind than see her in any sort of underwear. He did everything he could to pack everything that was essential. He actually manages to finish packing her things, and she cooked him something as a thank you for helping her. That was pretty much what made my clone dispel, and I got this horrible memory. For a second I actually looked at Tazuna as he was drinking liquor out of his gourd. You know, Tazuna, you are right. One day I will want to have a drink to help me forget some horrible memories. Like the one I got today. Now excuse me while I get something to drink. I turned around and took something from my storage scroll, and funny enough it was a bottle. I took a big drink of it, and Sasuke looked at me with a look of utter confusion. What is exactly that happened that was so horrible? Did the shadow clone find her vibrator? Did she try to get to use it in him? I put my bottle back in the storage scroll and looked at him. He became quiet in less than a second. Worse, much worse. Do you remember when I said she could not do something more horrible than the things I went through growing up? Well, I was wrong. From now on leave the cooking for this team to me. You don't want to taste her cooking unless you have a death wish. As we walked, Sakura kept glaring at me, and for some, I really didn't care. I grew up eating stuff people threw away, and things people wouldn't feed their dogs. That tell you how simply horrible her cooking is. As I walked down the road, I realized something rather odd. In the past 3 months, our village has been in a dry season, which means there hasn't been any rain in months. In truth, the only thing that keeps the crops alive is the underground water deposits and the occasion river. I walked over to the very obvious puddle and looked down at it. Now I know you are there, and I'd rather parley than to have to do something stupid that would get you both killed. I have to ask, however, who was the idiot that thought that hiding in an illusion of a puddle was a good idea? They were still not ending the illusion. Honestly, we had water restrictions imposed on us. We haven't had a single drop of rain in months. This is as convincing as a bush of red roses in the middle of the desert. I heard someone hitting a guy and the guy complaining. They finally stopped the illusion. See, I told you, blend in with the surrounding. Do you see any rivers near here? No, you have to excuse my idiot brother. Sometimes I think he was dropped when he was a baby and hit his head. I looked at her, black hair, rather nice figure, and she actually was rather smart. What can I say? I can respect a woman like her. The name is Naruto Uzumaki. And what would be your name, miss? She smiled and looked at me, scratching the back of her head with the hand she didn't have what looked like a chained gauntlet. Oria is my name, and this is my idiot brother Oran. You said you wanted to parley. What do you want to discuss? I looked at her and smiled. Well, Oria, it is plain to see that you don't want to harm either me or my team, which makes me wonder, who are you really after? We were told he was afraid of bandits, not rogue ninja from Mist, so who are you two really after? Oran looked at me and began laughing. Why, the stupid drunk you are guarding. Who else? There is this crime boss in the town. This guy is building a bridge, and he hired our boss to get rid of that drunk, to stop the building of a bridge, or so we were told. I looked at Oria and touched her free hand and kissed it. This, of course, for some strange reason made Sakura angry, and Oria began to blush. Thank you for telling me this. Mind telling me who hired your boss? She tried to hide her blushing face, which caused her to pull on the chain on her gauntlet, which caused her brother to fall down. Gato, his name is Gato. He is a sick pervert that owns a transport company. After so many bandit camps I killed, I had heard quite a few things about the supposed crime lords on the nations around Fire Country. Gato was one of the people that I heard about, but he was not described as a mighty crime lord. He was a pathetic joke. Bandits openly ridicule him. They say that if it wasn't for his shipping company, his criminal enterprise would have gone under years ago. Gato of Gato Shipping, yeah, I heard some things about that guy. Supposedly he is a big-time shipping mogul that ships anything to anywhere. I hear he mostly ships and distributes fish and other low-level production goods. I had to admit that Kakashi was right. He certainly did that, but that wasn't the only thing he did or shipped. I decided to look at them and could not help but to feel pity for the two fools. Gato was using them plain and simple. From what I heard those bandits say, it was clear that he had no intention of paying them at all. I felt the rage doing in my gut, and I felt the need, the desire of killing Gato in the most painful manner possible. Using people as disposable tools were unforgivable. Yes, I also know quite a bit about Gato from all those bandit camps I destroyed. He is also involved in money laundering, prostitution, slavery, and drug distribution. He is no major crime lord. He is scum, plain and simple. The bandits openly made fun of him, calling him a failure would be a compliment compared to some of the things the bandits said about him. Oran, let me be blunt here. He will more than likely have you do the job of killing the drunk we are supposed to protect, and then kill Oran, drug Oria, and sell her as a sex slave. Oria looked at me and I could see that she didn't like that one bit. Who would like to hear that their boss would one day turn her first into a junkie and then a prostitute? Are you sure about that, Naruto? I saw the look of fear Sakura and Sasuke was giving me. I guess it means my killer intent leaked out during my little outburst. Bandits say that if it wasn't because of his shipping company, he would be either dead or out of business. They use drugs to get the women they kidnap hooked, and then to maintain their habit they send them to the brothels. I looked at Tazuna, who looked afraid to me. That is more than likely why he sent you to kill our client. If Tazuna completes the bridge he is making, that would mean an extra way for his town to send goods. Basically killing the monopoly Gato depends on. The other more affluent crime lords would want to kill him as he is no longer useful. As soon as I finished saying that, Oria looked at me. As much as I appreciate your concern, Naruto, and I do, what do you propose we do about this? We got a mission to kill that fool you are guarding, and you got a mission to guard the same fool we have to kill. Tazuna looked to me like he was having mixed feelings about what he heard. On the one side, a pretty young woman was talking about him. On the other, she was called him a fool twice. I began scratching my chin and began nodding my head, and it finally hit me. Well, actually, you and your brother don't have a mission at all. Did Gato pay you a single real? No, of course, he didn't. He just made a verbal agreement, didn't he? Well, sorry to be vulgar in front of a lady like yourself, but that sort of agreement is as good as a fart. It gets blown away in the wind. We, on the other hand, have a signed agreement. The fact that he lied through his teeth means nothing. because at the end of the day he will have to pay it, or his business credibility will go down the drain. Oran, I am not trying to trick you. Gato has no intention of paying you or your boss. Go back to your boss and tell the others this before we end up doing something regrettable. She looked at me with a confused look on her face. What would be regrettable? I told her it was always regrettable to kill such a lovely young lady when we could avoid it. This made Oria blush and her brother start laughing his head off. Well, as much as I am enjoying this, sis, he has a point. No reason to risk our necks for a false promise. We will tell Zabuza all about this. You will have to find a way to make our boss a deal better than the one Gato promised. However, our boss isn't what you call having a lot of patience, or mercy like me and my sister here. I looked at them and nodded my head in agreement. They both took off, and I turned around and looked at Tazuna. He looked afraid for a second there. Stop looking at me like that, you lying drunk bridge builder. We are going to get you home and finish the mission, but you better pay it. Tazuna looked at Kakashi and the others before smiling like he just owns the lottery. Of course I will pay it. If you manage to do that, your village will be forever friends with my town. I looked at Kakashi, and he looked at Sasuke and Sakura. You know, Naruto, his lie is a total and absolute breach of contract. We could easily return to the village and leave Tazuna to suffer the consequences of his lies. I, however, see that you two realize that Tazuna didn't lie because he wanted. Did you, Tazuna? I also heard it in his voice, the sound that is not easy to forget, especially since I once made that very sound myself. The sound of a voice filled with desperation. His town must really be in a bad situation economically, and couldn't afford the mission fee for the mission he really needed to ask for. The difference between dealing with bandits and dealing with highly trained ninjas of another village means this mission, instead of being in C rank, it should be in A rank, and that means the difference in cost is astronomical. It's the difference between a pebble and a perfectly cut diamond. Tazuna began to nod his head as I said that. That is true, Naruto. Gato has pretty much choked the economy of Wave by controlling the only means of shipping our goods. The cost is so high that we simply can't ship anything, and thus our economy slowed down to a halt. He then uses the desperation it creates to force the people of Wave to do his bidding, even against their will. He turned the people of my town into slaves, and those that refuse he kills as an example. I looked at him and couldn't help but to smile. Well, which is yet another reason why we can't fail now, isn't it? This would also be a good opportunity for a certain cousin of mine to show off his skills, and a chance for a certain banshee to show how sharp her fangs really are. Not to mention she might actually show her true colors to the formerly mentioned cousin of mine. This, of course, had the intended effect that the other two jumped at the chance to continue the mission. I did not, however, like how they reacted to my killer intent. I did not project my entire killer intent, only a fraction, and they didn't react that well to it. Which means they both are ninjas, but they are as green as they come when it comes to actual combat. I sent a shadow clone when everyone began to walk away. I knew full well the village would sing praises to the people that killed me, but they did value the last of the Uchiha a lot more than the joy of seeing me die. I sent the message to the Hokage that a backup squad would be required. I also told him of the lie and the circumstances for Tazuna lying to him. I quickly caught up with them, and we had a nice relaxing walk. There was a nice river nearby, and the breeze actually was quite refreshing. I was truly enjoying the breeze until I noticed something that didn't quite add up. It was a rabbit, but not any normal rabbit. The rabbit was female, and she had what I would call the fur that a rabbit would have in midwinter, which means this rabbit grew up indoors, and in a cold climate. Alright people, get down. The second I yelled and they did get down on the ground, a large blade came spinning across from where they had been standing up. Had I not screamed, they would all be injured if not outright killed. Some greeting you have. I guess Oria and Oran didn't deliver my message. Why don't you come down, Zabuza? You can tell me why you are attacking us. A man wearing a mask covering half his face jumped down and dislodged his weapon as he jumped down, the weapon he threw at us and which he had been using to stand. You are something. You are not even affected by my killer intent. I would expect that from Kakashi the copycat ninja, but not you. Why did you spare the lives of my subordinates? Did I look at him with killer intent? What I was feeling was a pleasant breeze at most. Compared to the killer intent of a dragon, this was at most a pleasant breeze. A pair of dead people make for lousy messengers. How about you drop the axe, Zabuza? I can tell you are using a transformation jutsu. By the way, that is a nice perfume you are wearing. Zabuza looked at me and began laughing. Made from lilies, if you must know, you are the first person ever to notice my perfume. So tell me, Uzumaki, according to the two who you met, you think Gato will end up betraying my group. Why bother telling me that? I looked at her and smiled. She was still pretending to be a guy, and I could tell there was another man standing on the upper tree limbs listening in on our conversation. Oh, I know what you mean. You have quite the bounty on your heads. I could make quite the pile of Rio if I killed all four of you and deliver your heads, not to mention that sword is quite the prize. I looked at her and began walking towards her. I, however, am honorable, unlike your current employer. Why don't you tell your son to come out of hiding? You two have nothing to fear from me. She smiled, or at least it looked like a smile behind that mask. How did you figure he was hiding? I looked at her and smiled at her. I told her the rabbit he used was more than likely a pet. I even told her that the rabbit had fur of a rabbit that grew up in cold weather, meaning the color and texture of her fur, and since it was summer it means the rabbit grew up indoors. So how about Zabuza? Are you going to keep hiding your true appearance, or is it that you are simply shy? Zabuza began to laugh like I only heard few people do, and those people tried to kill me, so I knew that I was in big trouble. Actually, Naruto, you might not realize this, but women suffer all kinds of discrimination even if they are kunoichi. I didn't change my appearance because I am shy like you just said, it's because people don't take me seriously when I show them what I really look like. Her body began to shift and change before my very eyes. Her hair got softer and clear, her face became gentle, her lips fuller and alluring, her chest, waist, and legs became the very definition of an hourglass figure, a true beauty. I also don't show my true appearance because it tends to make me angry. It reminds me of the bastard that once tried to kill me and our son. The man who most considered my husband, but in reality, he was just a man who raped me. Sorry to tell you, Oria and Oran are dead. I don't allow failures to live. They actually bought that pathetic lie about Gato one day betraying us. I have seen the money, Naruto. Now your only choice is to get out of my way. Let me kill that drunk bridge builder, and beg for your life or die. She ran towards Tazuna, and with just barely a second I blocked her sword with mine. The look of shock on her face was priceless, as I placed my hand on her left breast. I could say it was an accidental grope, but who am I kidding? It was intentional and not for the purpose that everyone looking was thinking. I quickly decided to use Divine Dividing and kept activating that power over and over again for almost a whole 2 minutes. Using this skill I inherited from dear mom, I can divide the strength and power of a person in half, and take that half for myself every 10 seconds. I couldn't have done it to this extent if I was human, but I am not. She finally recovered from the shock and put some distance between me and herself. How dare you! You first get in between me and my target, and then you decide to grope me. She did a quick series of hand signs, and she must have thought she sent a large wave of water at me, trying to drown me it seems. Too bad for her, I was not your ordinary human. I am a dragon, and a divine dragon at that. I opened my mouth and took a deep breath, drawing in all the water and the chakra that was used to control it. With one gulp I finished drinking all that water and chakra. And here I was thinking you were mad. Thanks, Zabuza, I was really thirsty. I ran towards her and smiled. But you look a little hungry to me. Here is a nice knuckle sandwich, nice and crispy. One swift uppercut to the jaw and she looked a bit woozy from the way she was staggering. The next thing that I saw was a couple of saban needles strike her in the neck. A masked hunter came down where she fell down and looked at me. Thanks, I needed that distraction. I have been hunting her down for weeks. If it wasn't for that punch I would never have gotten her to expose her neck like that. I looked at the masked hunter, and realized he had the symbol of the village hidden in the mist on the mask. A hunter of Kirigakure, I take it. Just remember I did you a favor. You owe me one. She turned around and began laughing as she picked up the supposed dead body of Zabuza and looked at me. Had I not killed her she was going to kill you and your friends. I guess that makes us pretty much even. See you later, ninja of Konoha. I tried to delay her as much as I could for Kakashi to do something, but he actually just stood there with a look of shock, and he continued to look confused even as the hunter took Zabuza away with her. Damn it, Kakashi, what do you want? A written invitation for you to step in? You know that we are going to end up fighting them again. That fake hunter just took off with Zabuza. Chances are we are going to end up fighting him in a week. Sakura looked at me with a look of sheer disgust. First you grope our enemy, and now you are making excuses for failing to kill her. That hunter saved our lives, you should be grateful. I gave her a look that made her stop mid-rant. If I care to hear your opinion, Banshee, I will ask for it. Hunter ninjas don't take off with the corpse of their targets. They eliminate the body and only take the head back with them. This means that instead of killing Zabuza, that fake hunter saved her life. Sakura looked at me and then at Kakashi. Naruto is right. You can put a person in a state of near death by putting pressure on a point in the neck. That is why she used those needles. But it will take at least a week for Zabuza to recover from that. Sorry, Naruto, I guess I was so shocked at seeing you grope a woman that I didn't react in time to stop that fake hunter. I mean, usually you are a perfect gentleman. I guess you had a reason for doing that. I looked at Kakashi and began to relax and took a deep breath, slowly letting it out. I have to have physical contact for one of my skills. That is why her wave jutsu was actually so powered down. Kakashi almost looked relieved that I said that. Good, I will have to keep that in mind. I guess that it also made her physically weaker since you managed to knock her out with one uppercut to the jaw. I couldn't help but smile as he finished saying that. I am always a gentleman with the ladies, at least to those that deserve that treatment. Sakura screamed at me that I was always rude to her. I quickly turned around and looked at her. I told her point-blank range that I was a gentleman with the ladies, meaning she was no lady. Come on, Tazuna, we need to get you home. My team needs to get ready to do some training, and I need to find a way to get proof of how much of a deadbeat Gato really is. I began walking right next to Tazuna, who almost looked happy to be alive. We continued to walk till we reached a large river, and near the edge of the river was a small fishing boat. In truth, I was not expecting to have these many people. My boat is small, it can sit at most 4 people. I looked at him and couldn't help but to smile. I wouldn't worry about it, Tazuna. I can walk my way to the other side of the river. Sakura, being the idiot that she was, she said it was more than likely that I would drown. They all got in the boat, and Tazuna began to steer the boat. I began walking right next to him. The look of shock and realization on Sakura's face was priceless. So Tazuna, how far are you in completing the bridge? He didn't say anything for a few minutes, and that is when the silhouette of the bridge came through the mist. About 3/4 actually, so tell me, Naruto, what do you think of my little bridge? It doesn't look like much, granted. The decorations will be done after the main portion of the construction is done after all. The bridge looked like something out of a fairy tale. The bridge was supported by large columns of concrete and iron. The surface looked like it could withstand a hurricane, and it had many loading and unloading lifts to columns, 1 each. You know, for a drunken bridge builder, I have to say that is an amazing looking bridge. Are you using the water to power the lifts? A number of goods and materials you will be able to upload and unload from the bridge itself is amazing. Kakashi and Sasuke just kept quiet as I said that, and kept looking at the bridge. Nice to see someone actually realizes why there are so many lifts on the columns. Yes, Naruto, this will be our way to end the monopoly that has crippled my town. With the added cash flow from the new business my town will have, I will more than likely be able to pay the mission. Kakashi, being the constant pessimist, decided to burst our client's little bubble. That is only if you manage to finish the bridge, which is exactly what Gato will try very hard to prevent. Come on, Naruto, let's check the pillars. I have a sneaky suspicion about them. Kakashi jumped off the bridge and took off towards one pillar, and I took off towards another. As soon as we got to the pillar, I walked up the pillar to a very hard place for anyone to see, and sure enough, there was a set of explosives placed on it. I began to look at the bomb and realized that it was set to explode once a large weight comes near the pillar. Great, the explosives are set to go off the second more construction material is brought to the construction site. Better take care of it. I quickly took a kunai and began to disarm the explosives. I sent 5 more shadow clones to do the other support pillars. I made sure to keep the disarmed explosives, waste not, wants not, as the saying goes. I walked down and looked at Kakashi. Managed to take care of your pillar, Naruto? How about the over 5? I told him I sent some shadow clones. I showed him one of the bombs, and the other 5 shadow clones came and delivered to me the storage scroll with the other 5 bombs. What do you plan to do with those explosives, Naruto? I looked at him and began laughing. He almost became pale as he heard me laugh. I am only going to put these toys to good use and give Gato a nice present. Why so serious, Kakashi? From afar the town looked a whole lot bigger than Konoha, but as soon as I and the others began to walk through the streets I realized that a lot of these people were living pretty close to how I did growing up. Granted, at the least they didn't have a pack of what I should call rabid hyenas trying to kill them every single chance they got. I looked at Sakura, who was practically growling at me if it wasn't for the fact that she was looking a little bit green around the gills to actually growl at me. Who ever heard of a fox that got motion sickness? I began to hear more about the decorations, and I kept telling him that red with gold decorations is practically begging for a stupid bandit group to think the thing really had gold on it, and try to rip pieces off to get some easy money. He just kept on laughing. It was until we got to his home that he became quiet. The house, or should I say the building, looked more like a renovated office building than a home. It had 4 floors, about 5 windows on each side, and large metallic doors. Okay, Tazuna, no offense, but this place looks like an office building, even a storage building if you look at the doors. He laughed again and he began to dust off the front door till I saw what looked like a rusted insignia. Actually, Naruto, this was both a storage building and my office building. I had a large construction company, but even since Gato took control of shipping, he has made it impossible for me or anyone to get the materials we need to do business. I finally had to shut down my company, and using the few materials I had renovated this place and made it my home. Not bad for a drunken loser if I do say so myself. My daughter lives here with her son, and once her husband used the storage space on the bottom floor as his fish packing plant. The thing with Gato is that anyone, and I mean anyone that even looks brave enough to stand up to him, he immediately kills in the most humiliating and painful manner possible, to set an example. He began to walk towards the door and took a key from his belt. He opened the door. Enough doom and gloom for one day. Come right in, guys. This is my chance for you to really marvel at what I can do. As we walked in, I had to agree that compared to how my place looks, the interior of this house looked to me like a palace. I am not kidding. The place had working light, plumbing, a water heater, working shower, toilet, and there was not even an inch of the walls covered in dog feces. Well, I certainly would call this place a very nice home, Tazuna. He looked at me and began to nod his head as I said that. We all began walking towards the dining room and saw that the place was connected to the kitchen. I heard someone using some pots and pans. Looks like we are lucky, my daughter is making dinner. Tsunami, stops what you are doing and come over here, we got some foreign guests I need to introduce you to. You could have knocked me out with a feather. To say that she was beautiful was a clear understatement. This was by no means the same as the two pathetic creeps that stalked Sasuke non-stop. Her hair was shoulder length, her figure screamed of her being a lady, her ample bosom, her waistline and the shape of her hips. I mean, for crying out loud, this woman was a lady and there was no comparison between her and the pink banshee at all. She looked at me and then began to blush. Is there something on my face? Tazuna looked at me and the others began to look at me with different looks. Kakashi looked at me with an amused look on his face, Sasuke was confused, and Sakura was glaring daggers at me. You sure do, a lovely face, but it would look even better with a smile, so come on Tsunami, who about you show us a beautiful smile. Tazuna could not contain it anymore and began laughing his head off. Here I was concerned that Kakashi would be the one to hit on my daughter the second he looked at her, and who is it the one that starts to flirt with her like a natural-born Casanova? Come on guys, I am sure my precious daughter has dinner already. I took a quick whiff from the direction she came and I certainly liked what I was smelling. I didn't want to ruin the surprise she had prepared. As soon as the others were seated I began taking the pots from the kitchen. Why aren't you seated, Naruto? I can do this myself. I told her that she cooked all the food, the least I could do is help her carry it to the table. I swear I heard Sakura whisper show off as soon as I got done serving my own food. We all got done with saying grace and I finally managed to try to take hold of my spoon when I began hearing someone running from upstairs and down the ladder. As soon as I looked at the ladder I saw a kid who clearly had run from his bedroom. He was having a hard time breathing. At first I got to admit I was feeling concerned, but as soon as I was about to get off my seat to check on him, something happened that made me reconsider. You are all fools. Gato is invincible. No one can defeat him. You are stupid fools that are going to get yourselves killed for nothing. You come here giving everyone false hope. Take whatever you can from US and abandon US. You don't know pain. You don't know the hell Gato has put US through. You are stupid fools that don't know anything. Well, if I had been looking forward to tasting the tasty soup and other food in front of me before this, I was not hungry at all. I guess the kid needs a wake-up call more than me checking if he was alright. He clearly was alright if he can shout like that. I walked up to where Inari was and without saying a word I picked him up. I carried him, kicking and screaming that I should let him go while I carried him to my seat and I placed him on the seat I had been seated. Inari, let me ask you some things, and maybe you will understand something about us or at the very least understand something about me. I was looking at him with a smile, but the kid was scared. Tell me, Inari, did you grow up and the only presents you got was a beating and people deny you any food? Inari looked at me and began shaking his head. Tell me, did have to sleep near garbage bins and had to fight rats to get your food each day? Again Inari began shaking his head. Tell me, Inari, do people chase you around town each of your birthdays with torches and pitchfork, screaming that you should die? Again Inari began shaking his head. Finally, Inari, has anyone in this town thrown you outside their place of business, told you that a thing like you has no right to live, much less step into his store? Have the doctors in this town told you they rather see you die than treat any sort of injury? Crying helps no one. Get up, grow up, get stronger, don't just sit there crying and feeling sorry for yourself. You got to do everything you can to make your own life better. If you don't do it, then you deserve the pain and suffering you get. That is when Tazuna finally decided to speak as I finished. Naruto, no one deserves to be treated like that. I mean, no kid would ever be treated like that and be able to survive. It's inhumane. We don't treat even criminals like that. I looked at Tsunami. I am sorry, Tsunami, but I sort of lost my appetite. Now if you will excuse me, I need some fresh air. I hate to contradict you in front of your daughter Tazuna, but there is someone who was and is treated like that still. I walked towards the door, and just as I opened the door I looked at them, and that person is me. I walked outside and began to look for a nice tall tree. I could really use a nap. I saw one that was by the market. It was also overlooking several alleyways. I walked up the tree and when I made it to the biggest branch I closed my eyes. That is when I was back inside my mind. I know you told yourself those last words no less than 1,000 times growing up, Naruto, but you have to understand that boy is just human. He is not like those of our kind. Why did you have to tell him that? Feeling sympathy for the human kid? Or did you do it to help his mother? I couldn't deny that was true in a sense. What can I say? Father is always able to read me like an open book. I tried to help all three of them actually. Tazuna doesn't need the added stress of his grandson acting out. Tsunami doesn't need to feel bad hearing and seeing her son behave like that. And Inari doesn't understand that behaving like that will lead him to be truly hurt. Dad just looked at me and I could almost feel a question coming that I simply could not avoid. Yes, she is beautiful, and no, I am not trying to do something to make her feel sorry for me enough that she will be nice to me, or even though she is available I cannot fill the stepfather role in this particular family. He just began laughing, And I mean really laughing. Son, what I was going to say is that what you did was a very thoughtful thing and I am very proud of you. But since you pretty much opened that can of worms, would you be surprised to find that she went outside in the middle of the night to have a drink at a local bar? That seemed oddly specific. That is when I heard someone scream for a person to stop and get away from her. I opened my eyes and sure enough, there was Tsunami, wearing some rather nice and reserved clothes, being chased by a creep who was stumbling, and I found it a miracle that he didn't stab himself with his own weapon. Just as they moved right underneath the tree branch I was trying to sleep on, I walked around the branch till I was standing on the bottom of it. The second the man caught her and was trying to rip her clothes off, that was pretty much it for me. I used as much of my strength to jump downward and within a second I was behind him. I took the knife he was using and slit his throat without even thinking about it. The body hit the ground and next thing I know Tsunami is hugging me, and not in the simple thank you hug either. She was crying and she was making absolutely no sense when she talked. I quickly sent a shadow clone to dispose of the body and tried to find why this man was trying to rape her. As soon as I picked her up and began carrying her home, she seemed to relax a little. I ran through on every rooftop of the way back to her home, and the further we got from the place she was attacked the calmer she got. It was until I reached the window to her bedroom that I got the memories from my shadow clone. If before I wanted to murder Gato, now I had another reason why the slug of a man needed to suffer. The clone destroyed the body much like a hunter would. He took all his possessions and burned the dead, naked corpse till there was nothing left. His possessions were the real key to why this man was trying to rape Tsunami. He changed his appearance and made it back to the man's home. He entered the place and found out that the man was tasked by Gato to seduce Tsunami, sleep with her, and kill her in her sleep, take her dead corpse and put it on display at the entrance of the local church. According to Gato, this would cause Tazuna to become so depressed that instead of building the bridge he would go drink even more, or outright kill himself. If she didn't want to sleep with him at all, raping her and leaving her to eventually commit suicide was his actual preferred outcome. Thanks to this I had an easy cover identity to infiltrate Gato's organization. Right now, however, I had to deal with what happened to Tsunami. I had to ask why would she put herself in harm's way like this. As I went into her bedroom through the window, I placed her gently on her bed. Tsunami, you have to tell me, why in the world would you go out in the middle of the night and drink with a total stranger? You do know how dangerous that is for you, don't you? She took some time to try and make herself calm down. A deep breath later she looked at me. Naruto, it's not easy being responsible for raising my son all by myself. I sometimes get really sad to think that I will never be treated right. I mean, some of the women don't know that I know. They actually say Inari's father is not my husband and that I am some sort of prostitute. I sometimes go to that bar to drink and forget how miserable my days really are. I will admit it was rather stupid of me to go on this last blind date, and had you not been there I shudder to think what that man would have done to me. She began crying and I, of course, didn't want her to feel bad, so I tried my best to comfort her. I moved near her and began giving her a sort of shoulder to cry on as I pat her on her back. It's not easy being a single parent. Inari has no male role model. My father thinks that I should wait till his bridge is done for me to even think about dating, and I get so lonely sometimes I cry myself to sleep. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, this from the cheerful woman who made dinner for her family a few moments ago. I guess I still had a lot to learn about women. I placed my hand on her shoulder and began to rub her left shoulder as a form of support and moral comfort. That is all right, Tsunami. Those women who said those awful things are probably picking on you since they are very miserable in their own marriages. Some might even be jealous that you don't have to deal a person like their own lousy husbands. Tsunami, you need to take better care of yourself, if not only for Inari's sake but for your own good too. She stopped crying and looked at me. Her makeup was a mess and I did my best to dry her tears. Thank you, Naruto, I feel better now. It's just that sometimes I feel so miserable hearing these women say those things. They may be acting out their own frustrations, but I am a person with a heart and feelings too. They make me feel unwanted, or undesirable. She placed my hand on her left barely covered breast. See, Naruto, see how my heartbeat is. I heard how hard your life has been, Naruto, from that man named Kakashi. If anyone knows how hard life is, it's you. It's just that what they say hurts my feelings, and I get so lonely. Without even giving me a chance to react, she leaned closer to me and began giving me a rather passionate kiss on my lips. From there the entire situation went from me trying to comfort her, to me and her working hard to get out of our clothes, and we ended up mating much like a pair of animals in heat. As we continued to go at it, I tried my best to make her feel good. Then again, I never did this before, so I pretty much had only her moans and her heated requests to either go faster, or slower, or deeper. I just kept listening to my own instincts, and whatever she was either moaning or saying. The next morning I woke up feeling like never in my entire life, and that was when I noticed two important facts. What I remember happening last night was not a dream. Tsunami was very much still naked, and her arms were around my waist. And the smell in the room left little to no chance for me to think that what I experienced last night was a dream. As I looked down I saw her hair was a mess, and she had a smile on her face that made the first one I saw when I met her pale in comparison. Tsunami, I am going out to try and find Naruto. I don't care what that pink-haired teammate of his says, it's not healthy for someone like him to sleep out in the streets. I heard him come closer to her bedroom door. Tsunami? Are you alright? That is when Tazuna opened the door thinking something bad was happening, and that is when Tazuna found our clothes on the floor of her bedroom, me and Tsunami as naked as the day we were born, and in bed together. She didn't even wait for her father to calm down before she looked at her father and smiled. Oh, as you can see I am feeling wonderful, and you need to look for Naruto, he spent the entire night with me. Now if you don't mind, I am in the mood for a second helping of what I had last night. That made Tazuna, much to my surprise, turn beet red, and basically close the door behind him and leave in a hurry. Now that my father is not here, I got to tell you Naruto, you really know how to make a woman like me feel good, but don't worry, I know that eventually, you will end up marrying someone else, so from now, think of it as gaining experience in how to make a woman happy in bed, not that you need much from how things went last night. I looked at her, and could tell she was just teasing me. I will never understand why she was teasing me. I have a better way to say it if that is what you want. How about we are friends, who just happen to enjoy some casual romantic moments? She placed her head on my chest and began laughing. Like what? Occasional lovers? Or friends with benefits? I wonder how Inari would think of. I smiled and placed my hand on her. Don't worry, Tsunami. I will try to give Inari some advice. I will have to spend most of the day either helping your father or keeping some idiot from harming him. I got out of bed, took a shower, and since Tsunami thought it would save us some time, we took that shower together, which in turn ended up causing the shower to be a little longer than expected, brushed my teeth, and went down the stairs to help with making breakfast. As soon as I walked downstairs, I heard some people talking. Does anyone know where that freak Naruto is sleeping? It's going to be a major pain to find that creep and wake him up. How about we forget about him and let him keep sleeping, Sasuke? Well, nothing ruins my day faster than having to hear Sakura speak about me in such a gentle, kind, caring, and supportive way. I honestly thought that this could not get any worse, and that is when I heard Tazuna laughing and I had a bad feeling about what he was going to say. I wouldn't worry about Naruto too much. I am sure he had a very nice sleep and is probably going to wake up early. He is probably only taking his time taking a shower. Why do I get the impression I think Tazuna knows how and with whom I took my morning shower with? As I reached the kitchen, I began to look in the pantry. Maybe there was something there I could use to make a quick breakfast for everyone. Is there something, in particular, you are looking for, Naruto? I didn't even turn around and just told Tsunami that I was looking for dishwashing soap. She laughed and told me it was on the cover under the sink. Thank goodness. Knowing Sakura, she might put some of it in my morning coffee and pretend that she thought it was sugar. She cooked and I cleaned. It was pretty much when the others that began eating their breakfast that I finally finished cleaning the pans. I sat down and had myself a simple egg, sunny side up, some toast and a glass of juice that I served myself. Sakura looked at me with an odd expression on her face. Well, actually Sakura is pretty odd most of the times in the morning. Well, she asked me why didn't I take the glass that was already full from the table. For a second there I wanted to ask her to take a taste out of it to make sure, and that is when I remembered Dad telling me about indirect kissing. That pretty much made me realize that serving my own juice out of the pitcher was the smart decision. I closed my eyes and said grace for the food I was about to eat and to give a small prayer of sympathy for the poor unfortunate soul that would eventually kiss Sakura on the regular basis. I know most of the times I seem like I hate humans, and that is not true. I certainly feel pity for the poor person that ends up getting married to the pink banshee. So Naruto, did you have a good night's sleep? I hope Kakashi doesn't notice the blush on Tsunami's face as he finished asking me that. I took a bite of my food and a drink from my glass before answering that question. It's a pretty harmless question, but considering how I spent last night, I had to be really careful how I answer that. Yes, I had a wonderful night's rest. Never slept better in my whole life. So Kakashi, what exactly is the schedule for today? I hope that Kakashi would take my subtle hint that a change of topics would be appreciated. He just began laughing and finished his own breakfast. Cereal, fruit, and a glass of water. Great, I ended up having 3 eggs for breakfast and 4 slices of toast. For today you got to guard Tazuna and his construction crew's work on the bridge. Sasuke will be teaching Sakura the tree walking exercise and I will send a message to Konoha that we need some reinforcements. I could tell Sasuke was not happy to hear that part about teaching her the most basic chakra control exercise there is. Actually, Kakashi, I already sent a message and Sasuke and I both already know how to do the water walking exercise quite well. Remember, I had to walk because there was not enough room on the boat. So I think Sasuke would be much happier if you taught Sakura that control exercise and he joins me at either helping or keeping Tazuna and his construction crews safe. The look on his face was priceless. I guess he didn't expect me to know that much, or he was doing an excellent job of pretending to be surprised. Alright, since you two can do that level of control exercise, then, by all means, keep Tazuna and his crew safe. I will teach Sakura the tree walking exercise, hopefully it will be enough. I began to get up and sent a shadow clone to take care of the dishes. I began to walk, and just as I reached the door I turned around to find Sasuke just staring at me and then at the clone. Honestly, Sasuke, you do a jutsu enough, you can actually do it without having to use hand science. We got a long day ahead, don't we, Tazuna? The man just laughed and walked towards me nodding his head. Indeed we do, we got to see how much of that bridge we can get finished today. Just as I was about to open the door I felt someone grab my hand and pulled me into a rather tight hug. Just make sure not to overwork yourself, Tiger. I want some more tender loving tonight. Next thing I know, Tsunami is kissing me, but not in the way that a person kisses someone they don't know. This was a full-blown French kiss, and I was more than happy to return the favor. After a few minutes, or what felt like a few minutes of us kissing like there was no tomorrow, I smiled and I looked at the shocked look on Sasuke's and Sakura's faces. What? You never seen a pair of lovers kiss before? Come on, we got work to do, and thank you for taking care of teaching Sakura Kakashi. We both walked away and I could hear Inari begin to complain about something. I could just imagine what he is complaining about. It was either because he felt embarrassed or that he wasn't told me and she was lovers. As soon as I got to the construction site, and it took a whole 5 minutes before something went wrong, to me it was a testament to Tazuna's ability to multitask. If this sort of thing happens often, I guess he doesn't drink on the job. I looked at him and looked at the rather upset construction workers. Alright, what is the matter? Tazuna walked over to a large concrete mixer and then he pointed at several of the gears on the outside of it. They had been welded shut, meaning the machine could not make the large cylinder spin and thus could not mix the concrete. I walked over to him and smiled. Go ahead and tell me the mixture of sand, concrete, gravel and other things this thing needs to mix. He began describing amounts, and I soon realized that if the crew could load them into the large mixing cylinder then I could do something. Alright, I think I have a general idea. Go ahead and put the things into the large cylinders of these machines. I will take care of the rest. They looked at me like I was crazy until I made 3 shadow clones, and using the boost ability they took the large cylinders off the machines and began shaking them like they were mixing drinks. The entire construction crew watching just stood there with the mouth open. Just tell them where you want the mixture to pour in. They began doing that and sure enough, the construction crews began to work and they were getting things done faster than before. I just sat down with a leaf on my forehead trying to control my chakra. I used it first to make the leaf stick to my forehead and then pushed it to make it float. Once I realized this was too easy I began to do the same thing with my hand and was making a single kunai float and spin over my hand. Where did you learn to do that thing with the concrete, Naruto? I didn't even bother looking at Tazuna and told him that once I had to pretend to be a bartender for one of my bandit camp hunts. You know, Naruto, those containers weighed a lot. How can you mix them like you were mixing drinks at a bar? Again with the silly questions I told him to me it was no different, to me mixing a fruit cocktail, and mixing the cement was pretty much the same thing. Take the ingredients, mix well and serve. After a few hours, we actually got done in one day what normally it would take them a week. It might also have to do with the fact that my clones dried the cement with their fire breath. Tazuna and I had a few nice conversations and by the time lunchtime was done we were talking like we known each other for years. So Naruto, how in the world did you and my precious little girl ends up in bed together? Should I play the concerned father and asked what exactly are your intentions with my daughter? I could not believe this was coming from a guy that pretty much met his wife the same damn way I met his precious little girl, and from what I remember about last night there is nothing little about his daughter. She said that she was feeling lonely. After a rather short kissing and touching moments we sort of ended up like that. Who knew that I would end up like in one of the scenes from that disgusting book? I intend to make her happy for as long as I can, and maybe try to give some advice to Inari every once in a while. Tazuna began laughing and I could tell he was not actually that angry with my answer. Actually, hearing you say that makes me relieved. Here I was thinking that it was going to be just a one-night stand. I know the life of a ninja is dangerous, so I understand what you mean. Come on, I am sure that Tsunami must have cooked something great for lunch. She always did when she was in a good mood. As we walked I saw Kakashi and he didn't look happy at all. I can't really blame the guy. Teaching someone like Sakura is a nightmare. She probably spent the entire time complaining about how she'd rather be taught by her precious Sasuke. Speaking of Sasuke, he spent the entire time working on his water walking exercise while I did most of the work today. I guess it was too much for me to expect some gratitude from him. Inari was actually waiting for us. Something was odd about him. He looked really sad for some reason. I mean, the last time I met the kid he was at first screaming how we were suicidal idiots, and then he looked scared when I asked him my questions. See, Naruto, Inari is a nice kid just like I told you. Here he is waiting to greet his grandpa. But why do you look sad, Inari? Without a word, he ran towards me until he was leaning into me, and he was crying. I am sorry, Naruto, you were right. I didn't know how good of a life I had. Mom took me with her to buy groceries, and I saw how miserable the people in my town live. I'd been living like royalty by comparison and I didn't even notice it. I am sorry for screaming those things, can you please forgive me? I touched his head and smiled. What is there to forgive? You didn't know any better, but now you do. Come on, Inari, we really worked up an appetite working on the bridge. You can tell me all about what you saw in town during lunch. Tazuna had a strange look on his face as soon as I finished saying that. What? You want Tsunami to be angry at us because her food got cold? That immediately made both Inari and Tazuna open the door and run towards the dining room. I guess it's true, Tsunami can be as scary as she is beautiful when angry. Who knew reading those books would come in handy? I still feel like I need a shower after I finished reading them. So how was today's training, Kakashi? Did Sakura manage to walk on the tree at all? Sakura was looking at me with a smug look on her face, so that pretty much to me the answer to that is yes. I didn't only manage to walk on that tree, but I can run to the top and back down like it's nothing. Sasuke was actually surprised if the look on his face was anything to go by. I simply took an apple and with one hand I began to use my own control exercise. The knife began to spin at such speed that it was causing a light breeze when I threw the apple in the air, and as it fell on the spinning knife the apple was cut into 8 perfect slices. That's nice. Anyone care for some apple slices? They taste great with the dessert Tsunami made. I could smell it since he came near me. Tsunami just came over me and began hugging and kissing me. I swear if we hadn't spent so much time together doing what we did, I would be blushing brighter than a ripe tomato. Come on, Inari, there is no need to hide, we should all eat before it gets cold. I also need to tell you a few things. I had a wonderful meal, and my shadow clones got to work on cleaning everything in the kitchen while we ate our food. Now, Inari, I plan to leave at least 2 shadow clones with you. I think it's high time you started to learn some basic self-defense. As much as I would love to stay here, I will have to return to that stinking cesspool these people call their village. I was almost expecting the indignant remarks of Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura, but instead, I saw a crying Tsunami. She was crying and complaining about how the men in her life always end up leaving her. I knew her the grand total of 2 days, and with that little time and having slept with me a few times last night, she is already this attached to me? Tsunami, trust me, I would love to stay. I could make a pretty decent living helping your dad in the construction projects that will come after the bridge. I can also tell that me, you and Inari could become a rather happy family. I could even have something I never had in Konoha. Do I dare say it, a home? She looked at me as she wiped the tears from her face, and kept asking why? Why would I leave to go back to a place that hates me, and I obviously was miserable living there, so why return to that living hell? I looked at her and smiled. I have to return, Tsunami, because the idiots in that village think I have one of the tailed beasts inside me. This is a source of immense military power for them, and they would not hesitate to kill you, your father, Inari, and this entire town if it means they have to do so to get me to return to the village. So instead of thinking of it as if I have only a week to be here, think of it as me making sure Inari is ready to defend himself and probably even you. That would make my life in that village a whole lot less miserable since I would have one less reason to worry about you too. I really hate to say it, but after how good I felt after one night of just plain sleeping by her side, after all the time we spent doing things that would make Aika look tame, I knew one thing, well, 2 things really. One thing is the entire town was both blind and stupid, and it was going to take a real special woman to even match Tsunami. Do you really hate Konoha that much, Naruto? Correction, Kakashi was also pretty dumb by asking me this question. He knows how the people of that village regard me, how they formed mobs to try to kill me, and that I could literally count on one hand the people that actually treated me humanely. I am not kidding, I have seen them treat a stray dog receive better than me. What was that? Give you an example. Why, I love to. A stray dog gets injured, he is taken to the village veterinarian who just happens to be Kiba's sister. I get injured. Well, getting kicked and a few people taking the opportunity to stab me would be the obvious treatment I receive, then leave me in a gutter to bleed to death. If I was a simple human, I would have been dead years ago, which I am ever so thankful that I am not. Well, you have to understand that I have so many pleasant memories and experiences in that village. You can easily tell how happy my life is there, and if I have to explain it for those that don't realize it, this is called sarcasm. So no, I wouldn't go back there if I had a choice. I know that I don't have a choice, and I am going to do my very best to train Inari in some basic self-defense skills, finish that bridge by the end of the month, and try not to cry whenever I realize that I lost my one shot at having a caring and wonderful family of my own. This had the intended effect that Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke becoming quiet. I got up and saw the memories of my clones picking up my dishes. As I was ready to leave the house, I felt someone pull me away from the door. And where do you think you are going? I never realized that Tsunami had been following me. To look for a place to sleep. You probably had a tough time sleeping because of me. She immediately placed a finger on my lips, pretty much telling me to stop talking. She kissed me and I had to say I really like kissing her. As the kiss ended, she placed her head near my ear. I told you I wanted another night of good old-fashioned loving with you. And no, you are not sleeping out there, You actually have a nice bedroom now, come on. You have to wake up early and get ready for another day of keeping Dad safe, not to mention Inari didn't look it. But he is excited about those self-defense lessons. As we got to her bedroom, I saw Sakura look at us enter the bedroom. I honestly don't see the reason for her to look at me like that. It's not like this was the first night I slept with her. Another night of passionate love-making, and I could only think it would really take someone special to match Tsunami. It has been 3 days and Inari has been able to begin to really pick up my family's style of fighting. I know my clones are doing a good job of teaching him. They even taught him some physical training exercises. I know Inari is not my son, or even stepson, but I can't help to feel proud of him. I received the memories of the clones and I can't help but smile. I began to truly regret my fate. I begin to daydream about the happy life I am being forced to give up, the idea that me and Tazuna could work together in his company, make it official and marry Tsunami. The way Inari was treating my clones told me he would not be against me becoming his self-father. I could see that I indeed could make quite the happy life here with these people, but I knew better than anyone what lengths Konoha would go through to regain the tailed beast they consider their trump card. I saw the construction workers slacking off, so in the end I had to pick up where they were slacking. I was tired enough that I requested that I be able to take a small nap. Kakashi was happy to take my turn watching the construction crew and Tazuna so that I was able to take a nap. This seemed almost odd. I went to the nearest field of flowers and laid down on the grass. The herbs and the flowers smell great. It was really helping me relax and I closed my eyes to take my nap. Most people think that they can catch me unawares, but that would be true if I was human. A dragon never stops being aware of his or her surroundings, not even asleep. As I felt someone come near me, I quickly opened my eyes and took hold of someone's wrist. I immediately saw a kunai free from my attacker's hand. Is it too much to ask that I can take a simple nap without having to worry about ambushes, Haku? I heard a person laughing and as I got off the ground I saw Haku wearing a full kimono. Damn it, he even looks better than Sakura when he wears that. I thought I saw a spider near you, and I was planning to kill it before it got a chance to bite you. Nice to see that you are not as foolish as to let down your guard due to a false sense of security. Why are you looking at me like that? I hate the fact that I know Haku was a guy, and the whole embarrassed look he was giving me was not helping matters. So tell me, Haku, why did you come to this field? How is your mom doing? He laughed as he continued to pick up flowers and herbs. I came to pick up things to heal my mother. As for how she is, I guess I should say she is livid. She has been hearing rumors that you and the daughter of your own client have become, shall we say, quite cozy with each other. I mean honestly, Naruto, sleeping with the daughter of your client. Have you no shame? I began to laugh as Haku said that. I made a few shadow clones to help him finish picking up his medicinal herbs. As he finished that and began to walk around, I was not about to tell him have the final word. I don't want to hear that from a guy who wears a kimono so well that he could be mistaken for a girl. Give my best wishes and tell her I hope she gets better soon. I am looking forward to our rematch. Haku began to walk but not without telling me Zabuza pretty much was looking forward to seeing me again. The rematch was an excuse according to Haku. Great, now I learn that in my future I have to look forward to a jealous demoness of the mist coming to fight me again. I should really tell Tsunami, she sure would find this simply hilarious. My second plan was actually working rather well. My shadow clones had infiltrated the Gato criminal group and they even managed to become quite respected with the thugs that Gato employed. Let's face it, to Gato they are an expendable commodity, so he wastes no time or effort to make the people that work for him feel appreciated in the least. He even said that the only appreciation that should exist is them appreciating the fact that he is giving them a chance to earn a living. My shadow clones had managed to even learn the combination to the man's safe. I mean 1-2-3-4-5 is not what I call a very hard safe combination to either remember, or maybe the man has it because it is probably the single dumbest combination anyone could ever use. Trying to consider that most people would never even consider using these 5 numbers this way. I went home with Tazuna, who for some strange reason been bugging me about when am I going to set a date for the wedding. I've been sleeping with his daughter on the regular basis, and if I could tell Konoha to go right ahead and actually erase me from their records, I would be picking right now the date, the food, the music, buying the wedding dress, and asking Irika to be my best man. These days have been some of the best days of my entire life, and if this could be the rest of my days, I could actually start crying and say that I was in heaven. Being a ninja, however, gave me a much more realistic view on my life, and the fact that I am also a dragon gave me the wisdom to see how things could actually happen. In every single scenario that I told Konoha to go ahead and forget me coming back, either Tsunami and Inari or the entire town getting destroyed was the result I see happening. If something like that happened, I of course would not be able to control my rage and I would transform into my real form, and end up burning Konoha and about 5 miles of forest around where Konoha is. These idiots think I am the Nine-Tails Fox? They just don't know that the destruction the fox inflicted on them would be pretty much a love tap compared to the destruction a divine dragon could inflict on them. Even Dad sometimes tells me I am way too merciful for my own good. I get the feeling that if he was in my position, Konoha would not even exist on the current map of the area by now. I often asked him when will I meet Mom, but for some strange reason Dad never actually mentions much about her. I know that she is mad and broke up with him because she blames Dad for me being stolen and that she is the White Dragon Empress. That is pretty much all I know about Mom, which is kind of sad in of itself. I mean, Inari probably knows his mother better than I know mine, but then again he did live with her, and the only thing I got is Dad talking to me in my dreams. Alright, let's be fair, he was also training me and taught me a lot more than these humans ever did. We dragons gain the knowledge of our parents. We still have to learn how to access and interpret said knowledge, but that is stuff Dad is pretty much taken care of. I could burn Gato and most of his cronies without even breaking a sweat. Let's face it, a gas leak, a little fire breath, and the entire building burning to ash could be considered an accident. But the thing is, those cronies actually are only doing so because they want to earn a living to support their own families. If I had to live the way they do, and had the same circumstances they have to live with, I probably would have ended up a one of them too. So since I know this, I've been looking for a way to eliminate Gato, and only Gato. The man was without conscience, moral, or even a single fiber of ethics. He made vultures actually look right down decent. So I came up with a few plans. The first was to plant a bomb inside the safe, and the next time the fat bastard actually opened his safe to get some of his ledgers, the explosive goes off and one pig blown to pieces would be the result. My clones, however, showed me that the man was also lazy, and I mean lazy enough that he doesn't actually open the safe or write in his own journal or ledgers. That pretty much blew that plan right out of the water. If I did that, the unfortunate idiot that he asked to write in his books would be the one to die. The second plan was poison his drink, but again, being the paranoid freak that he was, he actually had a food and drink taster. So explosives were out of the question, and so was poisons. The last plan was not my favorite. Alright, I will admit it, it was Dad that came up with the plan. Father told me that the truth shall set this town free. He pretty much told me to steal his journal and ledgers, make an exact copy and leave the copy in the safe. I sure hope that the demoness of the mist is not too concentrated on her jealousy that she is beyond listening to reason. So how was your day, my love? I turned around and looked at Tsunami wearing her apron, and I could not actually stop myself from smiling. I would say it was a rather productive day. Inari is really doing great in his lessons, and if you think we didn't make enough progress, ask your dad. By the end of the week we will have most of the bridge done, and then it will only take a week to finish off the decorations. Speaking of which, where is Tazuna? I thought he left early to help you around the house. She laughed as pointed at the living room. That is when I saw Tazuna passed out with that expression that told me he had been hitting the sauce a little bit since he made it home. I honestly worry about your father's health sometimes, Tsunami. He is liable to ruin his liver and kidneys if he keeps this up. Come on, let me help you with the cleanup. You can tell me how your day has been while I take care of the pots, pans, and utensils. She watched go to the kitchen, and she began to laugh as I rolled my sleeves up and began to watch the stuff in the sink. You know, Naruto, if I told the other women in our neighborhood that you actually do this sort of thing without me even asking, I would have them green with envy. You sure you can't just tell that horrible place and its Hokage to find another scapegoat? I kept washing the pots, and began thinking how nice would it be if I could do just that. Tragically, Tsunami, they would never consider it. It's not like they consider me a person. To the village and those in the village council I am property. They would never consider the happiness of a thing they owned. She came up to my back and stood there. I could feel her leaning on my back. Naruto, that is just not right. You are a wonderful person. Why can't they see that? I could tell her about the attack by the Nine Tails. I could tell her that I even know where said Nine Tails is, but unfortunately I can't. Which is why I intend to do the most I can for you and your precious people. It's the only thing I can do. I know that I am being forced to give up a chance at happiness, but if I can do something to keep you, Inari, and even Tazuna safe, that will make me at least be able to live with the constant feeling that you might be in trouble. She slapped my back and began laughing. You almost sound like you love me, Naruto. I finally finished cleaning everything in the kitchen sink. I didn't even bother turning around before I asked her why would I spend so much time doing what we did last night if that wasn't the case. You better stop saying things like that, Naruto, or I am liable to tell your Hokage that you met with an unfortunate end and keep you here with us. Not even Inari's father ever said something that endearing to me. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. If what Inari told my shadow clones was true, to Inari his father could practically walk on water. Why wouldn't he at least tell Tsunami, his wife, that he appreciated and loved her at least once a day? She stepped right next to me and we began to put the pots, pans, dishes, and other utensils in their proper place. Tazuna was exactly where I knew he was going to be, sleeping on his living room couch after finishing a bottle of his favorite liquor. Hopefully when Gato is no longer a threat, and the bridge is finished, Tazuna will cut back on his drinking. Then again, if I know anything about heavy drinkers like him, chances are he will keep drinking like this but will use another excuse to justify it. I even began to suspect that excuse will be me. As I watched the way Sakura walked into the house, I almost felt pity, almost, but nothing more than that. She deserves everything she is going through. I could almost bet that the QB is screaming her head off about having such a pathetic container. So you guys made it back from training, that is nice. Hope Sasuke here managed to learn a few things while Sakura was doing her remedial training. Why are you staring at me like that, Banshee? It's your own fault for not putting the necessary effort. On a brighter note, I met Haku, and he pretty much gave me the impression Zabuza will recover by the end of this week. Kakashi began to nod his head. She is one of the top ninja from Kirigakure. She was a member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist after all. I imagine she will be mainly focusing on hurting you. I sat down on a kitchen chair and looked at him with a smile. Well, Haku did mention that Zabuza was more than a little upset about my relationship with Tsunami, not like I am about to let a jealous demoness decide my love life. Now Tazuna, how are we with materials? Tazuna looked like he had already began drinking by the time he made it back home. I would say we will finish 3/4 of the bridge by the end of the week. I would not have finished as much if it wasn't for your fire technique, Naruto. I could dry cement a lot more quickly and even test the durability. Sasuke nearly choked on his juice as he heard that. I don't know why he is so surprised that I can use fire. Tsunami told me she needed help lighting a candle that was hanging from the ceiling. I took a deep breath and blew the fire out of my mouth till it looked like a small serpent. The thing went up to the candle, and sure enough, it only burned the wick of the candle. The wax of the candle was untouched. See, nothing to it. I began blowing flames like I was trying to make smoke circles, and sure enough 3 flaming halos appeared and came to fly right over her head, Sakura and Sasuke. You know something, cousin, I can't help but to feel envious of your control over the fire element. I swear, Naruto, it's like you are one of those mythical beasts we read in fantasy books. What was that race of fire-breathing lizards? I could not help but to feel insulted as Sasuke called my race lizards. I tried to contain my anger, but he has some nerve calling my race lizards, stupid bald monkey. He should try to remember that he is nothing compared to my kind. They are called dragons, Sasuke, and no, they don't only breath fire. I would be very careful of calling a dragon a lizard, or in front of the boss of the Serpent clan, as a matter of fact. The dragons and his clan have been friends for generations, long before humanity even existed. He began laughing and I wanted to punch his lights out. He thinks I am kidding, and I think that his entire comment of feeling jealous is nothing more than something he is saying to get under my skin. The bad thing, the part that really upset me, was being called a lizard. I guess I still have a long way to control myself. My dragon pride is sometimes hard for me to hide. The meal was again wonderful, and I had a clone take care of washing the dishes. Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, and Tazuna left. I quickly took hold of Inari's hand to stop him, and he looked at me with a smile. Inari, never forget to thank your mother for all the things she does. You must never take her for granted, and remember to always be nice to the people that prepare your food. He looked at the living room and saw my team and his grandfather relaxing in the living room. He began to nod his head. I promise never to take Mom for granted. Thanks for a wonderful meal, Mom. Now can I please be excused? I need to keep practicing those moves you were teaching me today. I began to nod my head as I stood up from my seat and looked at him walk towards the stairs. I don't want to disappoint you now, do I, Dad? He quickly left, and I had no time to react. I just couldn't believe Inari called me Dad. I felt Tsunami hug me from behind, and she was in a particular good mood. Looks like I am not the only one that consider you family, Naruto. Inari is trying very hard to make you proud, it seems. He even helped me in the backyard. I touched her hands, pulled them close to my lips as I kissed the back of both her hands. My situation keeps getting more and more difficult. I wish I could tell the village to jump into an active volcano, but I guess this is the sacrifice I will have to make to keep you, Tazuna and Inari, safe. I felt her putting me closer, and I felt her head rest on my right shoulder. I am not happy about you eventually having to leave either. Let's just make the best of the little time we got to be a family. I honestly wonder, why do the men in my life always end up leaving me behind? I quickly turned around and saw the tears on her face. I placed a small kiss on her lips, which she wanted to last longer. If they are anything like me, I can tell you this, it is never by our own choice. It is something that it appears fate forces down our throats. Don't worry, Tsunami, I will finish training Inari by the time I am forced to go back to the village. She smiled. You know, the village isn't that far from here, and if the bridge really improves business, I could see if my father decides to move his company over to Konoha. At the very least, Inari and I could visit the village to come and see you. What if Naruto was deceived becomes White Dragon God? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.